The tourist group Yimo joined was a rather popular one in Luokang. Perhaps everything was arranged, so the tour leader never asked Yimo anything. He probably knew that Yimo was just using the tour to get to Hong Kong. The tourist group Yimo joined was a rather popular one in Luokang. Perhaps everything was arranged, so the tour leader never asked Yimo anything. He probably knew that Yimo was just using the tour to get to Hong Kong. When the tour got to Hong Kong, the first thing they did was shopping, but Yimo separated with the tour group. He was planning to do his own thing first and get the silver heart grass before treating the patient. Yimo knew that the big boss of Metal River was Metal Mountain, and he knew that the latter was at Hong Kong. However, he didn't know where Metal Mountain lived. Yimo was not worried though. Since Metal Mountain lived in Hong Kong, then he must have his power here. He only needed to go up to them. Before getting on the plane, the tour leader said that Miao Pu was the most chaotic. Although it was very popular, foreign tourists should not go there. Yimo wanted to find Metal Mountain, so of course, he needed to go to the most chaotic place. Metal Mountain was the mafia lord. The darker and the more chaotic a place was, the easier it would be for him to get news of Metal Mountain. Miao Pu was indeed filled with people and all sorts of entertainment facilities. Outside, there were all sorts of fast food restaurants and stalls. It was like a big market. And there were all sorts of snacks that made people really want to try. Yimo saw one shop's fishballs rice cake made very exquisitely and couldn't resist to buy one. The owner was in his 50s and he heard people call him Uncle Pei. His business wasn't bad. The time Yimo came wasn't the traffic peak yet, and there were still a few empty spots. This uncle's skills were indeed very good, and his movements were clean. Just a few minutes after sitting down, this uncle brought him a hot bowl of rice cakes decorated with a golden fishball on top. "You must be from mainland." After giving Yimo the bowl of rice noodles, the uncle didn't have anything to do, so he casually started a conversation. Yimo ate a mouth of rice noodles and indeed it tasted well. It was a bit spicy, but the taste was authentic. He didn't feel strange hearing the owner's question. His accent was different to the one at Hong Kong after all. The two spoke for a while before a ruckus sounded. Yimo turned around and looked. Two group of people had started fighting opposite the vegetable market. Two people even ran over here. The people chasing behind pulled out a hack knife from somewhere and chased. Yimo looked at the two groups fighting. This place was indeed chaotic. The rice noodle shop owner immediately said, "Young man, you must not look, these sort of things happen every few days. Don't bother them and they won't come to you." Yimo nodded and continued eating his rice noodles. When the rest of the people saw the fight was coming over here, they all quickly put down their bowls and rushed away, afraid to be caught in the crossfire. Then, the only two people remaining at the shop were the boss and Yimo. Yimo was still eating his rice noodles, however, even the people nearby the store retreated. However, one of the two people who ran away ran to the rice noodle shop door was blocked. One of the slightly fat youth was kicked in the chest by the man with the sword and was rammed towards Yimo's table. "Punk, piss off, Da Tang has business here." Then, the three youths who chased here saw Yimo was still eating noodles and kicked over one of the pots Uncle Pei was cooking with. Immediately, the rice noodles inside poured out. Yimo's good mood was ruined. He took the bowl and walked to the youth who was just talking and covered his face with the bowl before coldly saying, "So what if I don't piss off?" "Arg!" The youth howled as his face was burned red and white by the boiling hot rice noodles. "Charge, hack this bastard." This youth endured the pain, raised his sword and charged at Yimo. The other two reacted and both held up their swords as they charged towards Yimo as well. Bang! 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 Yimo kicked consecutively, and the youth who charged towards him were all kicked over. Yimo didn't even move from his position. After the few youth were kicked to the ground, they looked at Yimo in terror. After a while, they finally crawled up and slowly retreated. They knew they met a tough one. "Punk, watch out, just you wait, King with the Da Tang." One youth retreated while he left behind some tough words, but before he finished, Yimo went up and kicked this guy right on the face. The talking youth was kicked out many meters by Yimo again. His nose was bleeding and two of his teeth fell out. Then, he turned around in terror, not daring to say anything. That slightly fat youth also got up shakily and wanted to retreat. "You, come over," Yimo suddenly said. This youth walked shakily in front of Yimo. May I ask, what you want me?" Yimo's movements were too scary just then that he couldn't even say a complete sentence. "Do you know Metal River?" Yimo casually asked. "Metal River?" The fatty's expression changed immediately and said, "I don't know, I'm going." Then, the fatty stumbled out of the shop. Yimo didn't go stop him. He thought that if you don't know, never mind then, why so scared? At this moment, the Uncle Pei looked at Yimo with admiration before coming up and saying, "Young man, the people you just hit are from Da Tang. Even the police can't do anything about them. You should leave quickly. If they come, it will be hard for you to escape." He believed that although Yimo was good at fighting, but that didn't mean anything in front of Da Tang. Yimo thanked this Uncle Pei for his warm heart and stood up. At this moment, the police cars finally came. After leaving the shop, Yimo prepared to find a hotel to live first. He wasn't afraid of the mafia's revenge, he just didn't want to be wasting time with the police. Yimo was disappointed on not being able to hear about Metal River. However, his main purpose coming to Hong Kong was to get his silver heartgrass back. The second purpose was to cure disease, so he needed to find a place to stay first and go to a nightclub at night to search for more information. After finding a place to live, Yimo took a shower, and when it was night time, Yimo was prepared to go to that Uncle Pei's place to have another bowl of rice noodles before searching for news of Metal River. But when Yimo came to this place, he found that the shop was closed and a lot of people surrounded the door. There were bloodstains on the ground. Yimo immediately had a bad feeling. Then, he heard someone say, Uncle Pei was a good man for his entire life but was hacked just because he reminded that mainland kid. What happened to that Uncle Pei you were talking about? Yimo immediately came and asked. The crowd all turned to leave as soon as they saw Yimo. No one wanted to talk to Yimo. Yimo grabbed the nearest old man and asked, "Tell me, what happened to Uncle Pei?" The elder had a face of fear when he saw Yimo grab him, so he quickly said, "I don't know, let me go." "Oh, you don't know? Then I'll immediately go around saying you are advertising the bad things Da Tang has done," Yimo cruelly said. The old man was so scared by Yimo's words that he immediately said, "Please don't say that. Laro Pei was killed just because he told someone who got into conflict with the Da Tang to leave quickly. This mainland youth got away, but Laro Pei lost his life." Obviously, this old man didn't know Yimo was the mainland youth Laro Pei told to leave. Yimo's face immediately grew bleak. He was extremely furious. Laro Pei was killed by these people just for warning him. It seemed that before he found Metal River, he needed to go visit Da Tang. "Where are the fugitives?" Yimo asked. In the Hong Kong now, the fugitive shouldn't be able to get away with murder, especially in broad daylight. "Already ran, the police are chasing after him, I don't know the specifics," the old man replied quickly, but seeing from his expression, it was certain that this would end with no result. "Where do the Da Tang people usually gather at?" Yimo asked again. The old man looked around and saw no one come to help him. He was more and more worried and quickly said, "Normally, at San Li Feng's Earthheart Entertainment. That's Da Tang's land, I beg you, let me go." Yimo let go of his hand and the old man ran away quickly. He didn't even dare to turn around to look at Yimo Earthheart Entertainment. Yimo never thought he would come to Hong Kong to fight with the mafia as soon as he destroyed Metal River in Luokang. To be honest, he didn't want to do it at all. It wasn't that he was scared, just that it was troublesome. Plus, what the mafia did had nothing to do with him, but he always happened to meet these people. Normally, people who encounter these things would try to get away as far as possible with guilt. But Yimo wouldn't. He couldn't let Laro Pei die for no reason due to him. In addition, perhaps he could hear about Metal River in Da Tang. Yimo called a taxi and headed straight for Earthheart Entertainment. If possible, he didn't mind eradicating Da Tang too. He casually spread Kai around his face to avoid being captured by cameras. Yimo didn't want to be on the wanted list in Hong Kong, since he came to kill today. Da Tang's gangsters could be fine after killing or judged as accident, but he couldn't. He casually spread Kai around his face to avoid being captured by cameras. Mo didn't want to be on the wanted list in Hong Kong, since he came to kill today. Da Tang's gangsters could be fine after killing or judged as accident, but he couldn't. It was very boisterous inside Earth Heart Entertainment. Mo scanned, and it was messy, everything was done there. As soon as Mo came to the door, someone stopped him. "Brother, I have never seen you before, first time here?" At this moment, a youth with curly hair walked out, and as soon as he saw Mo, he pointed at Mo and called out, "It's him." He broke two of Brother Fei's teeth in South Street. This curly-haired youth immediately recognized Mo Go. As this curly-haired youth called, 7 or 8 people charged out. Mo sneered and didn't hold back. How could these normal gangsters endure his attacks? Soon, all of them were on the ground. Mo hadn't started killing yet because he needed to confirm things before he would start the slaughter. "Friend, you came to our place, did you want to break our place? I'm the manager here, Kui Heng." At this moment, a manager-looking man walked out. He looked at the 7 or 8 hoodlums on the ground, frowned and said. Mo kicked again. He kicked down a guy who struggled to get up. Then, he looked coldly at the manager and said, "I have 2 things here today. First, did you kill the Uncle Pei from the noodle shop? Mph, do you think you're good just because you can fight? So what if we killed him?" The manager saw Mo casually beat down 7 or 8 gangsters and wanted to ask where Mo came from. But now, Mo's arrogance immediately triggered him. No one dared to be so cocky on Da Tang's place. Mo was the first. If he didn't beat down Mo's flames of arrogance, then there was no need for Da Tang to remain here. Then, Kui Heng waved his hand at the back. "Friend, you won't live long if you act cocky just because you can fight a little. From the start till now, our Da Tang never had someone act so cocky in our territory. Even people from Metal River didn't dare to, much less you. Since you are so cocky, then I will show you the price for your cockiness." Mo sneered and also felt happy. These people indeed knew about Metal River. It seemed he came to the right place. He casually pulled out the whip Daoist Xian used. He was scared of wasting time if he fought these weaklings fist by fist. At this moment, he actually missed his metal nails. He could pretty much solve these gangsters with 1 nail each. Seeing Mo take out a whip, Kui Heng's mouth showed even more contempt and called out once again, "Go on him together, beat him to death, don't need to hold back." With Kui Heng's order, those 11 gangsters charged, with some of them have hack swords in their hands. Mo gathered Spirit Kai in the whip and swung out. With this swing, he gathered 70% of his cultivation Kai. The long whip howled and hit the first few who came up. In terms of whip technique, Mo wasn't as good as Daoist Xian, but he didn't even need technique for these little hoodlums. He only needed to infuse the whip with his Kai. If Daoist Xian swung it, it wouldn't have such howling sounds, but in Mo's hands, the whip shattered the air. Push! The whip sliced like a long sickle. There were only 11 who attacked Mo, and this whip hit the first 6 people. Not one of those who were hit lived. In the most serious case, the person was almost cut in 2 from the waist. Before the remaining 5 could react, Mo's whip turned and swung again. Another whip. After 2 whips, Mo took back the whip. At this moment, there were some people who hadn't fell. After a few breaths later, they finally fell and died. 11 people only took 2 whips. The only one standing was Kui Heng. He had his jaws wide open while looking at the bloodbath. Was this even human? Killing 11 people with 2 whips. Some people even had their chest torn open. Was he using a whip or a long sword? Does your Da Tang still have more people? Call them up together, save me the time of looking for them one by one. Mo looked at Kui Heng, who was dumbfounded, and sneered. Kui Heng phased for a while before saying with a pale face, "None, none." But what made his soul shatter with fear happened next. The youth in front of him casually threw out a few fireballs. The floor that was previously blooded with bodies was now covered in ashes. Even those few hack swords were burnt crisp. God! Kui Heng wanted to control his thought and not think in such a way, but he couldn't. Mo scanned with his spirit sense and found that other than some customers, there were indeed no more Da Tang people here. "Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions. If you don't answer them properly, you will turn into dust very quickly," Emo stared at Kui Hung, who was still dazed, and said. Kui Hung shook and finally recovered. He wiped his still sweating forehead and shakily said, Sir, please ask, please ask. The scene just then was still shocking his sense. He couldn't control the shaking in his legs. If it wasn't for the disappearance of the bodies, burnt smell in the air and the melted swords, he really would have thought he was dreaming. Have I killed the person who killed Uncle Pei? Emo scanned Kui Hung and coldly asked. Yes. It's. Kui Hung spoke to this point and was interrupted by Emo. Where is the HQ of Da Tang? Take me there immediately or you won't need to be talking anymore. Emo's voice grew cold. He knew that a mercenary like Kui Hung would require more means once he recovers. As expected, Kui Hung said without any hesitation, Metal River's big boss, Metal Mountain, is having negotiations with our leader tonight, saying that some regions will be given to us Da Tang. After talking for a while, Kui Hung's tone became more consistent. Metal River had usually been very adamant. I don't know why they would bring this up themselves. Brother Yu is afraid Metal Mountain is using tricks, so he brought all of the elites of Da Tang to the negotiation. Then, Kui Hung stopped shaking. He seemed to have recovered from the shock, but he still looked at Emo with fear. I'm going to find them now, lead the way, quick, Emo yelled. Yes. Kui Hung didn't dare to disagree at all. It was too late to not say anything, thus, he might as well do more. Emo had some idea why Metal Mountain was having discussions with Da Tang. It was because he killed Daoistzian and Metal Mountain probably knew it. A Metal River without Daoistzian was like a tiger without its claws. Metal Mountain was acting early. Once Da Tang knew that Metal River no longer had Daoistzian and then they fought, Metal River would lose more things. Da Tang and Metal River set the discussion place at West Sands region. West Sand was the largest gang in Hong Kong other than Da Tang and Metal River. Both parties would agree to having the discussion here. After nearly 40 minutes, Kui Hung drove a Mercedes to West Sands land. Both parties chose a large private manor. When Kui Hung drove the car in, there were already tens of luxurious limousines parked outside. Kui Hung was stopped at the door. Emo only needed to scan with his spirit sense to know that there were around 200 people in the light and dark. It seemed they would fight with the slightest disagreement. I'm Kui Hung from Da Tang, I need to see my leader, Kui Hung quickly said to the guard. The guard's face didn't change at all and said, there's an important meeting going on inside. No one is allowed in and out. Please immediately drive away, otherwise, we won't. The guard stopped talking there because Emo had already killed him with a wind blade. You. Kui Hung was so scared that he only said one word and then didn't even dare to look at Emo while driving the car in. He had understood just how fierce and cruel Emo was. The few men who were preparing to stop Kui Hung saw that Kui Hung spoke with the guard and still came in, so they didn't stop them. They didn't see the guard fall and thought the car was let in by the guard, so after Kui Hung stopped the car, no one came to say anything. Kui Hung parked the car and took Emo to the door of the mansion shakily. At this moment, another two people came to stop Emo and Kui Hung. Emo didn't hesitate to knock them out. This time, he didn't kill. At the same time, he turned around and knocked Kui Hung out. Now wasn't the time to kill him. He needed to at least be sure if Metal River was here before killing Kui Hung. And now, he no longer needed Kui Hung to lead the way. He headed straight to the meeting room. Stop, the two black-clothed bulky men at the door raised their gun and said. If these two people didn't point guns, perhaps Emo would just knock them out, but Emo hated people pointing guns at him. He didn't hesitate to throw two fireballs before kicking towards the door of the meeting room. Rate translation quality 2 comments join in Google Tag. CMD push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter add 168. Chapter 169, What, you have a problem? Chapter 169, What, you have a problem? Who is it? The first to react was actually an old man in his 60s. As soon as he spoke, two men in their 30s came charging to Emo from left and right. The left man was slightly skinnier, and before he even reached Emo, his fists scooped up a fierce killing intent, making the few men sitting near the door feel a frigidness that pierced their bones. Emo looked at the man with his spirit sense. His fist was indeed fast and deadly, and it had this relentless temperament. This man's fist technique must have been practiced through countless fighting. He wasn't as good as Lang Ji and was even a little worse than Hu Qiu, but his killing intent and temperament in his fists were better than both of them. This was because his fist had put aside his own life and death. In fact, it was usually those who put aside their life and death that could control the lives of other people. This was someone who didn't fear death. Yi Mo didn't care what he did, but just from his fist, he could tell it couldn't be used by someone who wasn't filled with this temperament. The one who plotted behind the shadows all day wouldn't be able to strike out this fist. Although this fist was sharp and full of temperament, it was too low grade compared to Yi Mo. In Yi Mo's eyes, this man was at most the elementary stage of yellow level. Such difference in level couldn't be made up with a fearless temperament. When the fist reached near his body, Yi Mo suddenly reached out his hand and attacked first. He accurately grabbed the man's wrist and dispelled the force and temperament of this fist. Then, Yi Mo's hand used a little force and the man's wrist was easily cracked. Then, Yi Mo brought his hands up a little, and this skinny man was thrown out many meters away, landing at the corner of the wall. At this moment, the other bald-headed man finally reached in front of Yi Mo. He wasn't empty-handed though. He held a trident. In the battle between masters, there was little people who used tridents. But this man not only used a trident, it was even a specially made trident. The tips were very small, while the remaining part half was very broad. This could not only be used as a prick but also a dagger. Now, the man charged at Yi Mo using the trident as a dagger. He aimed one prick at Yi Mo's waist instead of using the entire trident. Although this man was very fast, he was nowhere to hide under Yi Mo's spirit sense. This man was much more bleak than the other man. He thought that once Yi Mo blocked, he would change the slice into a stab, making the defender unable to block it. No one could survive after getting stabbed like that. Yi Mo sneered as he immediately raised his leg and spun it in mid-air. Anyone who had a little experience in martial arts would know it was very hard to kick out a leg spin in such a short time. The man holding the trident was a little weaker than the man using the fist, but he was much bulkier than that man. When his trident neared Yi Mo's waist and he saw that Yi Mo still didn't react, he immediately felt surprised and happy. He thought that if Yi Mo were to block, he would turn this slice into a stab and kill Yi Mo. But his smile soon froze. Yi Mo had raised his leg and using a speed that he couldn't even see, spun his leg in air and kicked his wrist. He didn't even have the chance to dodge as that kick was too fast. So fast that he only realized he was kicked after the kick connected. Just like the skinnier man, Yi Mo broke the man's wrist and the trident fell out of the man's hands. At this moment, Yi Mo didn't wait for the trident to fall to the ground. His heels turned, kicking accurately on the hilt of the trident. The trident seemed to have grown eyes and flew right back, piercing into the bald man's throat until the handle submerged. The bald man held to the handle with terror. He suddenly understood that when the difference in power was too high, no tricks would be effective. He made gurgling sounds before dying. No one was able to see this extremely fast combat clearly except for the black-clothed woman sitting on the very inside. Yi Mo also knew that woman was the strongest here, but she was strong to a limit. At most, she was the same as Lang Ji or perhaps even a little worse. This woman looked at Yi Mo's actions in surprise. She knew that it would be very easy for Yi Mo to kill the first man, but he let him go. She wondered if it was due to their different motives. One wanted to force Yi Mo out of the room and got his wrists broken, while the one who wanted to kill Yi Mo lost his life. The man who was at the corner also stood up. He looked at Yi Mo in shock. Ever since he graduated, he had never seen a master like Yi Mo. He only heard that Metal River had a Daoistzian that was strong, but he never fought with Daoistzian, so he didn't know how strong that person was. At this moment, everyone in the room reacted and all stood up while looking at Yi Mo in shock. Everyone knew about each other. Out of the tens of people in the room, Peng Yang and Yu Fu were the strongest other than Black Widow. Plus, it was unknown if Black Widow were stronger than these two. But the youth who broke open the door defeated Peng Yang and Yu Fu in 2 moves. One injured, one dead. Yi Mo scanned the room and saw that other than these 3 slightly strong ones, the other people were not bad but worthless to him. What made him surprised was that in the people sitting in the room, other than 5 or 6 middle-aged men, 2 youths in their 20s and that woman, the rest were old men in their 50s and above. "Friend, I'm Tian Shou, friends in the society call me Teacher Tian. This is an important meeting between our Hong Kong gangs, and I'm here as a witness." "Why have you come, friend? You don't look like you're from here. Did one of our people mess with you?" The old man talked very politely, but his long years of authority and utilization of his elder status immediately showed. Yi Mo scanned this old man. He was the first to react and ask who he was. However, this old man thought too highly of himself, calling himself Teacher Tian. Yi Mo didn't want to waste his time with him. He turned and looked at the other people in the room and said, "I just eradicated Earth Heart Entertainment and killed some people. I'm here to completely solve the problem. I heard that entertainment place belongs to Da Tang, who is the big boss of Da Tang. Stand up." Yi Mo ignoring Tian Shou made the old man quite annoyed, but he didn't dare to say anything. Regardless of whether he really did kill those people, his fierce killing meant he was not someone to be easily messed with. A man in his 40s suddenly stood up and said in a low voice, "I'm Zhuo Yu of Da Tang. Do I have conflict with you? Why are you killing all of us, Da Tang? It's all the elites of Hong Kong here. No matter how strong you are, do you think you can kill all of the friends in the business?" Zhuo Yu's words were rather skillful. He put himself at a weak position before pulling all of the friends in the Hong Kong underground world to his side. Yi Mo scanned the big bosses of the underground world. He didn't think that Kui Heng's info wasn't accurate. Kui Heng just said it was Metal River and Da Tang having a meeting. Seeing Yi Mo scan them, a few big bosses kept their glaring eyes on Yi Mo. That expression seemed to say if someone took a lead, they would all come on him. Yi Mo slowly said, "Because your Da Tang people killed a friend of mine, so I will annihilate your Da Tang." "What? Just because we killed a person, you're going to kill all of us?" Zhuo Yu looked at Yi Mo in disbelief. This person was too unreasonable. "Indeed, today at the small restaurant at South Street, I met a store owner that I got along with, but I didn't think your people would kill him just because of me." "You tell me if I should kill you all," Yi Mo coldly said. The big bosses who were guessing which important person was killed by Da Tang all froze. He was destroying an entire mafia because of a street restaurant owner he met today. This was way too arrogant. Even the most arrogant mafia didn't dare to talk like this. Zhuo Yu laughed. Okay, I've seen cocky ones, but I haven't seen anyone cockier than you. If the big boss of Nanqing accidentally swore at you, are you going to annihilate Nanqing? If you really have that much balls, then I'll surrender." Yi Mo plainly said, "You're right. That Qian Longtu has a useless son and was killed by me. But then, Qian Longtu actually thought he could do something and sent people to hunt me down. So then, not long ago, I went to Sai Na Peninsula and killed that old guy. What, do you have a problem? What? You killed Qian Longtu? Not." Zhuo Yu's face finally changed. He finally understood who the person in front of him was. Not only Zhuo Yu, but all the big bosses at the scene all changed their faces. Those few arrogant ones didn't even hesitate to keep their heads low, not daring to look at Yi Mo. Yi Mo could fight his way into the Sai Na Peninsula. That meant that these people here wasn't enough for him to kill. Just how strong was he? Chapter 170, Predecessor. Chapter 170. Predecessor. The 2 men standing behind Zhuo Yu suddenly pulled out their guns and rapidly shot at Yi Mo. Yi Mo sighed. It seemed that he really needed to prepare some normal nails on him, otherwise, he was sure he could kill these 2 before they fired. Meanwhile, the shooting speed of wind blade couldn't keep up with bullet, much less a fireball. After the gun fired, everyone was happy. They didn't expect to have the chance to fire in front of Yi Mo. Suddenly, Yi Mo waved his hand and a Kai wall immediately surrounded him. When the 2 bullets reached near the wall, it slowed down, but this was only seen under Yi Mo's spirit sense. Before other people saw what happened, Yi Mo had already grabbed the 2 bullets and threw it back. There was another 2 gunshots. When the 2 opened fire for the second time, Yi Mo's bullets had already pierced their forehead. 2 blood dots appeared on their heads, and Yi Mo just managed to catch the 2 bullets they shot out again. At this moment, the 2 men finally fell to the ground. There was not a single person in the room that wasn't experienced in fighting and death. What else have they not seen? Although they have heard that some people could catch bullets, but it was the first time they saw it with their own eyes. They couldn't even believe their own eyes. This wasn't all. The person who caught the bullet could use the bullet to kill the shooter. Some knowledgeable people have already guessed that Yimo came from the hidden sects. No matter how strong the people in Mafia was, nor how many people they had, they wouldn't be able to compare with the hidden sects. If it wasn't for that the people in the hidden sects had a different pursuit, they would not be able to sit here and have meetings. Although Zhuoyu was fierce, but faced with someone who could kill him at any time, his back had already begun sweating. He warned himself that he was the big boss of Da Tang, but he couldn't suppress the fear of death inside of him. Other people who said they would kill him were just threatening him and needed to worry about revenge. But this person dared to even kill Qian Longqiu, so it was all too easy to kill him. Zhuoyu looked around hopefully. Those big bosses who were just talking about unity all lowered their heads. Not one person dared to come out and speak for him. He scanned already and took back his disappointed gaze. It seemed it would be impracticable to find help here. Plus, he understood, so what if someone came to help him? Was he stronger than Qian Longqiu? With the temperament and posture Yimo came in, Zhuoyu didn't doubt at all that he killed Qian Longqiu. Friend, predecessor. Zhuoyu saluted with his fists. He hesitated before abandoning his pride and saying, predecessor, although I'm the big boss of Da Tang, but there are good and bad people in my men. If they annoyed you, I'm here to apologize. He then looked at Yimo's agreeing face. Zhuoyu didn't dare to breathe loud and continued, I know I angered predecessor. If there's anything you want me to do, please tell me. If you need my life, do as you wish. Yimo sneered after listening to Zhuoyu's words. He knew that Zhuoyu couldn't have such no fear of death temperament. Yimo suddenly threw out the bullet in his hand. Before Zhuoyu could react, it had pierced Zhuoyu's shoulder. Zhuoyu's face turned pale, but he didn't dare to move. He knew that if Yimo wanted to kill him, he would have died there. Go back and kill the person responsible and immediately disband your Da Tang. Also, go pay tributes to Uncle Pei's grave. After you have done this, come look for me, Yimo coldly said. He didn't say that the bullet had sealed Zhuoyu's heart meridian. If Zhuoyu dared to not look for him in 3 days, he would die. And, Yimo knew that Zhuoyu didn't dare to come back for him. At most, he would disband Da Tang and run. So Yimo wouldn't chase him. Since he dared to run, then death would await him. If he guessed wrong and that Zhuoyu really dared to come look for him, he wouldn't mind letting him live. Zhuoyu's heart raced with joy. Of course, he wouldn't be so dumb to come find Yimo. He just wanted to leave Yimo as far as possible. Yimo looked at him coldly as Zhuoyu held his arm and left desperately. He didn't even ask how he could find him. Yimo knew he was right. This guy wanted to run indeed. Seeing Zhuoyu leave so desperately, everyone felt something was wrong, but Zhuoyu was dumbed by the thought of escape. Plus, even those who noticed something was wrong couldn't tell what was wrong. The black-dressed girl looked at Yimo in surprise. Of course, she saw Yimo's actions and knew Yimo must have left something of Zhuoyu. If Zhuoyu didn't come, he would surely die, but she couldn't tell exactly what Yimo did. None of the big bosses here felt that it was funny Zhuoyu calling Yimo predecessor. If someone like Yimo wasn't predecessor, then who was? Tian Shou's face was pale, but he eventually didn't say anything and sat down. Predecessor, I am Zhao Bianyi, now the leader of Western Sands. I didn't know predecessor has arrived, apologies for our negligence. Peng Yang is my good brother, he annoyed predecessor, could predecessor please have mercy? Then, Zhao Bianyi looked at the skinny man who was tossed to the corner by Yimo. Yimo nodded. He never intended to kill Peng Yang, and now that Zhao Bianyi asked for mercy, Yimo casually said, you have no business here, go to the side. Yes. Zhao Bianyi was happy. This meant that Yimo let him go. He wouldn't be dumb enough to go argue with Yimo. That was suicide. Then, the black-clothed woman suddenly stood up and copied Zhao Bianyi's tone. I'm Shu Yuhua. People call me Black Widow. Greetings, predecessor. Seeing that Zhao Bianyi and the Black Widow spoke like that, all the big bosses stood up while reporting their name and gang. Everything seemed so orderly all of a sudden. Afterwards, Yimo found Metal Mountain. He seemed to be in his 50s, however, his eyes seemed sunken, not allowing people to see what he's thinking about. I'm Yimo. My principle is I don't mess with those who don't mess with me. Since you mess with me, then don't blame me. Metal Mountain, stand up. The first part of Yimo's words made everyone gasp a sigh of relief. They thought everything had ended, but then his latter part hung up everyone's hearts. They were scared that Yimo was looking for more trouble. Predecessor, I'm Metal Mountain. What business does predecessor have with me? Of course Metal Mountain didn't know Yimo's name, not even Daoist Xian knew him. Although Metal Mountain was the famous head of a gang in Hong Kong, his facial expression was very polite. The difference with him and Zhuo Yu was that he was calm although remaining polite. Everyone knew that the reason Metal Mountain was so calm was because he had a very strong assistant called Daoist Xian. This was the reason he could be the leading power in the Hong Kong underworld. Because your men have messed with me, I came here today just for you. Yimo could tell that Metal Mountain wasn't simple. His title was Metal Chains Crossing the River and he did seem like a troublesome person. No wonder Wu Xueming was no match for him. This is the first time I saw you, predecessor. Who messed with you, predecessor? Metal Mountain wasn't afraid as Jiao Bianyi because he wasn't sure if Daoist Xian was killed. If Daoist Xian was here, he wouldn't be afraid of anyone. Even if Yimo was very strong, he believed that Yimo was no match for Daoist Xian. Yimo could tell by Metal Mountain's expression that he had his hopes on Daoist Xian. He sneered before saying, "That Daoist is your man, right? His disciple stole a type of grass I planted, so he pissed me off. Oh, by the way, I've slaughtered both him and his 2 disciples. I've annihilated your metal river in Luo Kang." Yimo's words was like a huge hammer smashing into Metal Mountain's chest. Daoist Xian was killed, and this meant that his leading position would come to an end. Metal Mountain subconsciously looked at the big bosses around him and found that a few of them had a glaring beam in their eyes. His heart sunk. He now hated Daoist Xian's disciples to the bones. Why did they have to mess with this Yimo? He didn't expect Yimo was so strong that he could even kill Daoist Xian. Daoist Xian was a master who was one step away from Earth level. Seeing the sneer at the corner of Yimo's mouth, Metal Mountain shivered. He finally felt Zhuo Yu's mood and no longer had his previous composure. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and immediately said, "Predecessor, I'll take you to Daoist Xian's place immediately. If the things are still untouched, it should be there." He knew that Daoist Xian's disciples brought some grass from the mainland, but he wouldn't even ask about these stuff at all. Now that Yimo asked, of course, he remembered. Lead the way. Yimo's main purpose here was to get the silver heart grass. From Metal Mountain's tone, he seemed to know where it was. He was glad and didn't want to waste time here. Seeing Yimo and Metal Mountain walk out, the people in the room finally felt relieved. Yimo was too horrific for them. He could no longer be threatened by any gang. Yimo got the silver heart grass very easily. He also found a piece of deep-sea buttonwood at Daoist Xian's place. This made Yimo very excited and feel it was worth the trip. Yimo got the silver heart grass very easily. He also found a piece of deep-sea buttonwood at Daoist Xian's place. This made Yimo very excited and feel it was worth the trip. The deep-sea buttonwood was not only a good material for making defensive amulets, but could also be used in flying swords. Once a flying sword has deep-sea buttonwood inside it, its defensive attributes would greatly increase. After getting the things, Yimo didn't kill Metal Mountain. Metal Mountain only had feud with Wu Xueming. Yimo wouldn't bother himself with these. He had already done what Wu Xueming wanted him to do and even eradicated Metal River in Luo Kang. And, Yimo knew that Metal River wouldn't be as stable as before. Perhaps Metal Mountain also knew, but that was none of Yimo's business. Qing Quan Wan, Half Mountain Mansion. The middle-aged man knocked the table and said, "Luo Chen, it's the 6th day today. That doctor still has no news." Luo Chen, who stood behind, respectfully said, "Boss, I've had people guarding the region. As soon as he reached near Qing Quan Wan, we can find him." Mo Ping, if he still doesn't come by tomorrow, I will need to leave Hong Kong. It may be very hard for me to come out again. I will have to depend on you for Uncle Lee, the woman beside him said. That middle-aged man called Mo Ping had some anger flash across his eyes which disappeared very quickly. He turned and said, since Chong Wei says that, then of course, do as you please, I don't dare to stop your things. But even so, that woman had seen it. She had a disregarding look at the corner of her mouth, but she didn't say anything. After Mo Ping said that, he sighed before saying, Luo Chen, go search, if there's news of that doctor, report back immediately. Yes. Just when Luo Chen wanted to go out, a voice interrupted him and said, no need, I have come. Mo Ping suddenly stood up and looked dazedly at Yi Mo. After a while, he finally spoke, you. I'm that online doctor, let's go see the patient. I'm very busy, Yi Mo blandly spoke. This place really wasn't simple. There were people guarding from the bottom to the waist of the mountain. He didn't know who the owner of this place was, but Yi Mo was sure he wasn't in the underground world. Otherwise, that person should be at the meeting last night. At this moment, Chong Wei also stood up in shock. She studied Yi Mo in confusion. Someone who could appear here without her noticing was definitely a master amongst masters. Yi Mo then noticed this woman called Chong Wei. She was not yet 30 and had a sunflower seed-shaped face. Her faint makeup further portrayed her excellence. The only thing Yi Mo didn't like was the lines of her eyes were too hard, making her appear less feminine. What made him surprised was that this woman was also a master. Although she was a little worse than Daoist Xian, but she was definitely better than Wu Qiong. Who are you? Chong Wei subconsciously asked. Doctor, Yi Mo answered. Chong Wei frowned before saying again, I'm saying who are you? How did you come in without me noticing at all? Yi Mo scanned Chong Wei once. Do you guys still want me to look at the patient? Otherwise, I'm leaving. He didn't answer Chong Wei's question. This woman was weird. It was none of her business who he was. At this moment, Mo Ping had reacted and quickly said, yes, doctor, please, this way. I'm Mo Ping, I'm the person who requested you online. Then, he quickly took Yi Mo into a temple behind the mansion. Chong Wei heard Yi Mo's tone and was about to throw a tantrum, but she thought twice about it and didn't say anything. She would look for his trouble after Yi Mo treated the patient. Yi Mo had seen the man lying on the bed. His face was scrawny and emaciated. He was in his 50s and unconscious. There were also 2 nurses looking after him. Mo Ping told the 2 nurses to leave before respectfully saying to Yi Mo, Doctor, this is my uncle Mo Kang. He had been unconscious for 2 years, he was. Yi Mo stopped Mo Ping. You don't need to say anything else. Go out now, I'm going to treat him. Doctor, I also need to leave. Mo Ping asked in surprise. Of course, Yi Mo wouldn't let them know he was using cultivation means, so he wouldn't let Mo Ping stay inside. Seeing that Yi Mo didn't talk, Mo Ping sighed and said, okay, I'll go out. May I ask how long you will need and what things do I need to prepare? Yi Mo shook his head and said, nothing, just go out. I will come out after I'm done. I'm uncertain about the time, but if someone interrupts me during my treatment, they will pay for the consequences. Chong Wei, who wanted to see how Yi Mo was going to treat the patient, was now kicked out by Yi Mo for no reason, felt more uncomfortable. She felt this doctor was too unreasonable. After the 2 had left, Yi Mo closed the door and checked out this temple. He felt strange. There was a good mansion, so why did he have to live in the temple? But this wasn't something he should be concerned with. After making sure there was no surveillance, he then looked at the man on the bed. Yi Mo felt this person's pulse. It was very slow, but it didn't stop. He ran his kai through the patient's body and checked. Yi Mo immediately knew this wasn't a vegetable. He was attacked by insidious means like Shuo Aigua's son. The only thing was that the attacker was very careful to make the man a vegetable but not take his life. Yi Mo checked the means done to the man. Somebody had forcefully prevented him from awaking, so he could only stay in an unconscious state. The perpetrator not only had great inner qi mastery but also medical mastery. The difference was that Shuo Huatang only had a sliver of inner qi left in his head by someone casually. The attacker didn't care if Shuahuatang died or not. Meanwhile, for this patient, the inner chi was used intentionally to make the patient a vegetable. The technique was much more complex. Yimo was sure that even the attacker wasn't sure if he could make the patient recover. If he wasn't a cultivator who had spirit sense and could use cultivation kai however he liked, then he also wouldn't be able to cure this person. Yimo took out a set of needles and immediately pierced into the patient's chest and head. With the use of kai, the few nerves that were blocked by medicine and inner chi were recovered by his kai. Half an hour later, Yimo took out the silver needles and sighed. He knew this person was fine. Although he was fine, Yimo still had a few questions to ask these people. He knew that this person would wake up at most 10 minutes later. As expected, in less than 10 minutes, the man opened his eyes. When he saw Yimo, he was confused and desperate, and wanted to sit up immediately. However, he sat on the bed for too long. Even after Yimo treated him, he couldn't get up immediately. "Who are you?" the man asked on the bed. Yimo said, "You have been unconscious for 2 years, I just woke you up." The man frowned as though thinking something, but soon, his face changed immediately and said, "Where am I? How can you save me?" Seeing his face, Yimo knew he must have remembered something, so he could only say, "This is Ching Quan Wn, in a private property in Hong Kong. I'm a doctor requested by your nephew Mo Ping to treat you. He said you have been unconscious for more than 2 years. Hong Kong. Mo Ping. So I'm out. Who sent me out?" Suddenly, the man looked at Yimo with uncertainty and said, "No way, you definitely won't be able to treat my disease." "I know my disease, I know." The man's voice got lower and lower, at least revealing his melancholy and loss of hope. Yimo frowned and said once again, "I'm a doctor. I treat people and get paid. I don't need you to admit I treated you. Someone will pay me later. I will just ask you one thing. Who could use inner chi and medicine so perfectly to turn you into a vegetable? Of course, if you don't want to say, then never mind. And you're right, other than me, no one else can cure your disease." The man heard Yimo's words and looked at Yimo once again with uncertainty. "You know my condition is artificial. You really saved me, isn't?" the man said and seemed to have thought of something. Yimo got up and was prepared to leave. Since the man didn't want to talk, he didn't want to talk too. He would get his money and leave. "Wait, I'll tell you." The man suddenly stopped Yimo. Seeing Yimo stop, he continued, "I was indeed harmed. Since this is Hong Kong Ching Quan Wan, then it should be fine. Is there anyone else other than Mo Ping?" Yimo replied, "Another woman called Chong Wei and someone else called Luo Chen." "What, she's also here?" the patient exclaimed. Yimo just wanted to know who did this to Mo Kang, but after hearing Mo Kang's words, he knew that Mo Kang also came from the hidden sects. Yimo just wanted to know who did this to Mo Kang, but after hearing Mo Kang's words, he knew that Mo Kang also came from the hidden sects. 23 years ago, Mo Kang was already a plutocrat of Hong Kong. It was that year that he met Xia Ru, who came for a rites of passage in the mortal world. Xia Ru was a member of the hidden family Xia. They had feeling for each other, so they secretly promised their love for each other for eternity. At the end of that year, Xia Ru needed to go back to her family to participate in the hidden sect tournament every 3 years. And she never came back. Mo Kang immediately wanted to go find Xia Ru. Although Xia Ru told him how to enter the hidden sects, he still couldn't find her. However, Mo Kang didn't give up. He went again and again, spending countless money and effort before finally finding a way to enter the Xia family on the 16th year. But when he found the Xia family, he discovered that Xia Ru had married someone else tens of years ago. He was extremely angry. He couldn't go out, but even if he could, he would find Xia Ru and ask him why she betrayed him. When she left, she was already pregnant. Mo Kang wanted to ask where that child was. However, Mo Kang was a normal person who entered the hidden sect. He had no status in the Xia family and worked as a laborer for 4 years before finally hearing that Xia Ru married Zhong Fengji of Hong Martial Hall. But before he found Hong Martial Hall, he was attacked. Hearing Mo Kang's words, Yimo sighed. This Mo Kang was an emotional person, however, that Xia Ru seemed a bit heartless. Then, He suddenly thought of Chong Wei and asked, "Who is Chong Wei?" Mo Kang sighed and said, "Chong Wei is Xia Ru's younger sister and married 10 years ago. However, before she reached her husband's house, her husband died. She's a widow and rarely went back to the Xia family. However, I don't know how she came this time to send me out." Hearing Mo Kang's words, Yimo sneered. Although he didn't know what exactly happened, but he wouldn't believe that Xia Ru didn't know what happened to Mo Kang. And if Xia Ru didn't know, how could Xia Changwei send Mo Kang out? Mo Kang was too emotional that he couldn't even see her. In addition, perhaps Xia Ru was involved in Mo Kang becoming a vegetable. Or in other words, without Xia Ru, how could Mo Kang live in the Xia family for a few years even as the lowest house slave? As for why Mo Kang must live in the temple, Yimo didn't ask. It was probably Changwei's idea, and he didn't need to know. Do you know how to enter the hidden sects? This was what Yimo was most concerned with. Mo Kang shook his head and said, "She just told me how to enter the Xia family. She didn't tell me about the other sects. Plus, I swore to her I wouldn't tell anyone. Although she betrayed me, I still don't want to break my oath." Yimo couldn't do anything, so he asked, "Then do you know the 3-year tournament? I heard there's one this year. Is it at Wu Liang Mountain?" Mo Kang looked at Yimo strangely and said, "You actually know Wu Liang Mountain?" However, he shook his head and said, "The tournament before was at Wu Liang Mountain, but the year I got to the Xia family, I heard that the tournament was no longer at Wu Liang Mountain. I heard the next tournament was 5 years later, which should be next year. The tournament is said to be held at a city in the normal world. As for where, I don't know." Yimo frowned and thought that Daoistian told him it was at Wu Liang Mountain. Why would he trick him? He didn't need to. Seeing Yimo frown, Mo Kang said, "It is said that Wu Liang Mountain is place hidden sects are gathered the most, and there are many powerful hidden sects there. Normal people can't get in at all. Even if they do, it would be very hard for them to come out again." Yimo stood up. Although he didn't get much useful news, he still got some. Seeing that Yimo was preparing to leave, Mo Kang quickly said, "I know you're someone powerful, and since you want to know about the hidden sects, it means you really want to go in. Do you know about the spirit sensing rock?" Yimo was dazed. Of course, he knew it was the space abyssal rock. It was because he got it that he could make a storage ring. However, also because his power was limited and there wasn't much space abyssal rock, that his ring only could store 3 cubic meters. But if he had enough space abyssal rock and his power improved, he could refine it more and make a larger storage ring. Hearing Mo Kang talk about space abyssal rock, he was immediately interested. Seeing that Yimo was interested in space abyssal rock, Mo Kang revealed a smile of relief. "You treated my condition, so I don't feel it's enough no matter how much money I give you. You know this stone is the best, and I know where it can be found." Yimo nodded and said, "Indeed, this stone is very useful to me, please tell me." Mo Kang, however, shook his head and said, "I don't know the exact location, but I know a map of where these things are, and I heard it's in the Wu Liang Mountain. That year when I was at the Xia family, I often secretly learned some techniques to defend myself since I was living at the bottom. Once, in a spacious training ground, I saw 2 young people. I still remember their conversation. That younger one told the older one that he found a place with lots of spirit-sensing stones and said that there were a lot of precious herbs. However, he said that he couldn't go in alone and needed to cooperate with him. He even took out a map. That older one immediately showed a joyful expression and agreed to the younger youth's proposition. Just when the 2 were prepared to leave, the older one suddenly took out a dagger and stabbed into the younger one's waist. The younger one didn't expect he would be assassinated by his pal, and before he died, he pulled out a sword and stabbed the older one. After both of them died, I snuck away the map. I've memorized the map. I will draw it for you, and there won't be a mistake." Mo Kang then signaled Yimo to get pen and paper. Yimo could tell from Mo Kang's expression that he didn't lie, so he casually took out a pen and paper in front of Mo Kang. Where did you get this from? There isn't any folding marks at all." Mo Kang looked at the paper in his hand and asked. Yimo smiled and didn't talk. Mo Kang immediately understood that he had his secrets and so did other people. As such, He didn't talk anymore and carefully drew out what he remembered. Yimo looked at the map. It was in the middle of a cliff and did seem very hard to reach. However, if there were space abyssal rocks at that place, Yimo would be able to find it with his spirit sense. He carefully packed the map away and said, "Thank you very much, goodbye." Yimo waved his hand. "Brother Mo, although I cured your condition, but if what you say is true, then what I've earned big. I don't need you to walk me out, but I still need to remind you. That Chong Wei is Xia Ru's sister, right? I suggest you pretend you're unconscious until she leaves. Goodbye." Mo Kang was dazed at Yimo's back as he left while thinking what Yimo's words meant. Why did he tell him to hide from Chong Wei? Was this thing related to Chong Wei? Mo Kang found sudden enlightenment. Chong Wei was a woman from the hidden sects high above him. Why would she send him out? Even if it was convenient for her, there was no way unless someone told her to. Who could tell her to do that? Xia Ru? Or Zhong Fengji? Mo Kang's brains flashed as if he was about to grasp something but eventually missed that tiny piece. He suddenly felt Yimo was right. No matter what, he couldn't tell Chong Wei that he was awake. If Xia Ru requested Chong Wei to send him out, then she also knew that he couldn't be cured. Then why did she still get someone to send him out? If Zhong Fengji requested Chong Wei to do this, it meant that he had reached accordance with Xia Ru. That means, he must not reveal he had woken up. Thinking about this, Mo Kang gradually understood. Although there were still many things he didn't understand, but one thing was certain, and that was Xia Ru quite possibly knew of his circumstance. That doctor obviously noticed it. He has such an intricate brain. Seeing Yimo walk out, Mo Ping, who was extremely worried. He rushed up and asked, "How is it, doctor? How is my uncle?" Yimo saw that Mo Ping had real care in his eyes. He helpless shook his head and said, "The situation is a bit difficult. I can't wake him up now, but I'll go back and think of ways." Hearing Yimo's words, Mo Ping's eyes were full of extreme disappointment. He immediately walked into the temple and didn't even mention about payment. That woman also had a contemptuous look while sneering. "I thought you were very capable, it seems you are just garbage." Yimo couldn't be bothered with her and turned to leave. If what Mo Kang said was true, then it meant that he had received more than enough payment. "Stop," the woman suddenly called out to Yimo. "What else do you want?" Yimo turned around and looked at Chong Wei. His spirit sense noticed that there was something different about Chong Wei's face, but he couldn't tell what exactly it was. "What else do you want?" Yimo turned around and looked at Chong Wei. His spirit sense noticed that there was something different about Chong Wei's face, but he couldn't tell what exactly it was. Chong Wei saw Yimo's plain face and was immediately angered. Her left leg suddenly kicked towards Yimo with lightning-fast speed. It was obvious that she wanted to kick over Yimo and teach him a lesson. Seeing that her leg was about to reach and Yimo didn't do anything, Chong Wei felt relieved. It seemed that she overestimated this doctor. He didn't even time to react, much less counterattack. She didn't know how Mo Ping's people were so useless. Someone like this walked in, and they didn't even know. But the next moment, her face froze. She felt a sudden excruciating pain. Her leg bone made cracking sounds. Not only did Yimo counterattack but without holding back. If Chong Wei wasn't so careless, she wouldn't have her leg broken by Yimo in one move. But now, she could only hatefully sit on the ground and watch Yimo leave. Yimo was scared that his silver heart grass would wither if he left it in his storage ring too long, so he wanted to rush back to Luo Kang and plant it. After leaving Qing Shui Wan, Yimo thought about whether he should buy a ticket and go invisible and ride the plane. Then, a woman in her 40s carried a little girl that was about 5 or 6 and rushed over. There was also a 10-year-old boy behind her. The woman seemed very distraught, as if running away from something. When she saw Yimo, she quickly avoided him. She was probably being chased. These things happened too much every day and Yimo didn't take note of it. But soon, Yimo knew why, because a few men stopped in front of the woman. One of them, Yimo had seen before at the meeting last night. He was a bodyguard standing behind Zhao Bianyi. These people stopped the woman and reached out to grab the little girl in her hands. Yimo smiled and thought of how he should buy a plane ticket. He waved to that bodyguard and said, "Hey you, the one wearing the grey shirt, come here." Only that bodyguard wearing the grey shirt was called. As for the surrounding people, they all shook their heads. This young man didn't want to live. That was a person from Western Sands. He dared to wave at them to come over. As expected, the grey shirt turned around fiercely and looked. His lackeys had surrounded Yimo. "It's you." The grey shirt just said 2 words and his face immediately changed. He quickly ran to Yimo and bowed. "Predecessor Mo, I didn't know it was you." Yimo knew he would know him, so he coldly said, "Help me buy a ticket to Beijing." He could only go to Beijing first before changing to Luokang. Then, Yimo took out his identity and some money. The grey shirt respectfully took the identity but rejected Yimo's money. "I'll do it right away, I have a lot of money here, no need for yours, predecessor. I'm Lin Long, a subordinate of Western Sand, Master Jiao." Yimo nodded and casually said, "I know you're Jiao Bieni's bodyguard and you don't need to call me predecessor. I'll be waiting for you at that Western restaurant there, make it quick." The grey shirt respectfully said, "Yes brother Mo, I'll be leaving first." Then, Lin Long quickly took his men and left, and didn't even dare to capture that middle-aged woman. Not only was Lin Long's lackeys shocked, but even the way in which people looked at Yimo also changed. They thought that someone who could make people from Western Sand so scared must be worse. Soon, no one dared to look at Yimo and all left. That woman saw the hoodlums had left her and didn't dare to stay here. She didn't even dare to thank Yimo and took the little girl and boy and ran. Yimo scanned the woman. He made Lin Long buy a ticket for him since he didn't have a passport to buy a plane ticket, but at the same time, he also had the intention of helping the woman. He didn't know who was right and wrong. He didn't want to know anything, but he thought what good thing could Western Sand do. Yimo walked into the Western restaurant and sat down at a place next to the window. He ordered something and ate. Yimo believed that it was all too easy for these people to buy a plane ticket in Hong Kong. They should be very quick. There wasn't much people at the restaurant now, but when he ordered, more and more people came. Soon, this restaurant was filled. Yimo ate as he thought about how long Lin Long would take to get his thing done. Then, he thought about that woman and the little girl. Yimo suddenly felt that little girl was familiar and he seemed to have seen them somewhere before. But then he shook his head, he pretty much would never forget someone he saw. "Friend, sorry, I've asked my girlfriend to eat here later. I want this position because it was the position I met her last time. Could you please make things convenient for me? Thank you very much. This is a check to express my gratitude." A temperamental youth walked in front of Youth and spoke with a very polite tone. Yimo scanned the restaurant and frowned. This restaurant was full. If he gave this spot to this person, then he would have nowhere to sit. That wasn't the main thing. The main thing was he hasn't finished eating yet. Although this youth was polite, but Yimo didn't like it. "Your girlfriend is important, but so is my food and waiting for ticket. Since you want to invite your girlfriend, then you should have ordered a seat earlier. Can't you see I'm eating here?" Yimo unhappily said. This youth's tone grew more polite. "Sorry, I didn't know I could invite her today. How about I'll give you some more, this meal is on me." "It's no big deal giving it to you, but you need to wait after I finish. I should be done in about an hour." Yimo estimated that to be the time for Lin Long to buy him the ticket. Hearing Yimo's words, the youth's face grew bitter. Normally, most people would give over the seat after he said that. Some polite people would even wish him good luck, but the person in front of him was too obstinate. Seeing the youth's desperate face, Yimo sighed and prepared to stand up and give him the seat. He was almost done anyways. It didn't matter if he stood outside waiting for Lin Long. At this moment, the youth's phone rang. He quickly picked up and said, "Quick, bring Ms. Bing here, at that Poland Street's Western cuisine." Yes. Yimo dazed, he finally remembered who that little girl was. He saw that girl in a picture at Yun Bing's house. Was she Yun Bing's child? But why was she at Hong Kong? He had never heard about Yun Bing talk about her past and never asked her about it. He didn't expect to see her daughter in Hong Kong. Now that he thought about it, she did seem quite similar to Yun Bing. "Friend, move over please." My friend is almost here. How much money do you want? Name your price. This youth finally lost his patience. Yimo's thought was interrupted once again and was very annoyed. He was prepared to give the seat over, but he was interrupted twice, so he told the waiter, "Give me another steak." You. The youth was finally triggered. He was being polite but didn't expect Yimo to be so rude. "I'll say it once again, it's not too late if you move aside now. I don't want to make things ugly." This youth no longer had that polite tone and threatened him. Yimo was scared of threats the least. The Song family threatened him, and he killed 3 of their direct lineage. Nanqing threatened him, and Qian Longto's body is now cold. Now, he met another person who threatened him. Piss off. Yimo was finally angry. This guy meant that it would be wrong of him if he didn't give over the seat. You. Great, you have balls, I want to see how long that can last. The youth picked up the phone. It seemed he was going to call people over. Jiu Yi, where do I sit? Before Yimo spoke, a swan-like voice sounded. The girl who came was in her 20s, and her brows were lightly adorned. Her long lashes were like 2 small brushes, and her skin was very white. However, what caught Yimo's attention the most was her voice. It was a bit like Tan Fei's, crisp and very pleasant. "Ms. Bing, you're here. We'll sit here. I'll make this person give over the seat for us. This is the place we met for the first time." The youth who was just about to rage at Yimo immediately smiled. Seeing that the seat wasn't ready, Ms. Bing girl casually said, "Then we'll find another seat. I still have things later." Hearing this, the youth was worried and walked in front of Yimo and was about to warn him once again. He didn't want to show his ugly side in front of Ms. Bing. But before this youth spoke, a middle-aged man rushed in the door followed by 2 people. The man rushed in front of Yimo and quickly took out a plane ticket and said, "Predecessor Mo, I've brought the plane ticket here, do you have any other requests?" But before this youth spoke, a middle-aged man rushed in the door followed by 2 people. The man rushed in front of Yimo and quickly took out a plane ticket and said, "Predecessor Mo, I've brought the plane ticket here, do you have any other requests?" Yimo raised his head. He didn't expect the person to be Zhao Bianyi. This Western Sand big boss came personally just to give him a plane ticket. Yimo took the plane ticket and his document before saying, "Thank you, Mr. Zhao, just don't call me predecessor from now on." Yes, Brother Mo, of course. Zhao Bianyi knew how strong Yimo was and didn't dare to say no to him. It was a heavenly fortune to be able to help Yimo. Jiuyi already felt that Zhao Bianyi seemed like the big boss of Western Sand. Now that he heard Mr. Zhao and looked at the 2 people behind him, one of which was Lin Long, he immediately knew that the person who came was really the big boss of Western Sand, Zhao Bianyi. Jiuyi was immediately scared pale. Although he had some power, but it was nothing compared to Zhao Bianyi. He didn't think the big boss of Western Sand would be so respectful to Yimo and call him brother. Who was this young man sitting here and eating? Thinking about how he was threatening him before, no wonder he told him to piss off. Jiuyi's back was already sweating. Jiuyi quickly bowed in apology and stepped back. Although Yimo had detested Jiuyi a lot, he didn't want to be bothered with him. Although Zhao Bianyi noticed something, but since Yimo didn't say anything, he couldn't really do much. "Sit, I have things to ask you," Yimo said to Zhao Bianyi. "Yes, Brother Mo." Zhao Bianyi was happy. It seemed Yimo had some good impression of him. That girl didn't know who Zhao Bianyi was. She saw a middle-aged man call Yimo brother and couldn't help to laugh. This scared Jiuyi that he immediately pulled her, trying to get her away. However, this girl suddenly yelled at Jiuyi, "Jiuyi, keep your hands off, don't pull me." Hearing the girl's reproach, he carefully looked at Yimo and didn't even dare to breathe loud. Then, he actually turned and ran away. No matter how dumb the girl was, she knew that Yimo was no ordinary person. She saw that even a young master like Jiuyi was so scared of Yimo. He was prepared to tell Yimo to move before, but now, he didn't even care about her and just left. If it wasn't for the power of Jiuyi's family and his decent character, the girl wouldn't come to the date. However, she didn't expect that the person who invited her would ran away before they even ate. Funny how she was still thinking of an excuse to leave later. "Are you called Shi Ying?" The girl didn't leave and studied Yimo before asking in surprise. Jiao Bianyi cursed, hoping this garrulous girl would go away. He finally got close to Yimo a little, and this retarded girl was talking nonsense. If it wasn't for Yimo, he would have gotten people to throw her out. Yimo looked at this girl in surprise. He thought that when he used the name Shiying, he already used Kai to obfuscate the camera. How did this person know him? Only Yunbing knew he was Shiying. Was this girl really related to Yunbing? Seeing Yimo was shocked, this girl just sat straight down. She knew she had guessed right and said in a satisfied manner, "Because I'm the person who admires Shiying the most. I've watched his fighting recording countless times. Your body shape looks like him. This isn't the main thing. It's primarily because I'm really good at dealing with tapes. As long as I have an approximate face, I can refine it out. Although you have more defined features than the image I refined, but you still look quite similar." Yimo helplessly said, "Yes, I am Shiying, that isn't my real name, my real name is Yimoa, it really is you. I'm so lucky, you don't know how many people in my school admires you. I didn't think I would meet you today. I'm Wu Bing, let's shake hands." Then, Wu Bing already extended her hand. She seemed to act as though she was close with him. Yimo could only shake hands with her. Jiao Bianyi almost looked at Wu Bing in jealousy. It was good being a girl, so easy to shake hands. He couldn't do the same as she did. Thinking about this, he felt depressed. He came specially just for Yimo, but was interrupted by this girl who still hasn't stopped. Wu Bing's hand felt boneless. Yimo thought of Luo Susu. When he hugged her before, he didn't notice it at the time due to the danger, but now, he remembered that Luo Susu's waist also felt boneless and was very comfortable. Seeing that Yimo not letting her hands go, Wu Bing blushed and quickly pulled out her hands. Yimo also noticed his impoliteness and awkwardly smiled. However, Jiao Bianyi understood it as Yimo having a liking into younger girls. Since he now knew Yimo had this fetish, he would make sure Yimo was happy next time. Of course, Yimo didn't know what the two were thinking. His face recovered and turned to Wu Bing and said, "Wu Bing, I have some things to discuss with Mr. Jiao, you may do as you wish." Seeing that Yimo implied she should leave, although she still wanted to talk with Yimo for a while, but she looked at Peng Yang and Lin Long behind her and seemed to realize she shouldn't stay here. She immediately stood up and said, "Brother Yi, you are my idol, can you leave me your number?" After saying this, she saw Yimo didn't reply, so she awkwardly said, "Brother Yi, don't worry, I won't call you on a whim, I just want to keep a number to fulfill my idol dream." Seeing Wu Bing act so awkward, Yimo thought that even if she called him, she wouldn't reach him. Lang Ji should have been able to control Nanqing, otherwise, how could he send people to Beijing to discuss with the Yi family? Jiao Bianyi looked at Yimo's expression and knew Yimo didn't know about this, so he quickly said, "After Qian Longtu was dead, Lang Ji controlled Nanqing in a very short time, but this balance was broken in a week. It is said that many old members of Nanqing didn't follow Lang Ji and ganged up on him. In the battle, Lang Ji was said to be heavily injured and now, Nanqing is falling apart, but there is still no result." Yimo finally knew that these series of things happened in Nanqing. He couldn't help but to feel regretful. If Lang Ji controlled Nanqing, then perhaps he could use Nanqing to do things for him, but this Lang Ji was too useless and couldn't even do that. Chapter 175, Meeting Yun Bing Again. Chapter 175, Meeting Yun Bing Again. He must say that Lin Long did things fast and found that girl again in less than an hour. Yimo took a good look at the girl and was sure it was the girl he saw last time at Yun Bing's house. She did look very cute. The girl seemed to know she was in a bad situation and was scared. She wouldn't talk no matter what. Yimo sighed, such a smart girl, she actually knew she was at a disadvantage. "What's your name?" Yimo asked. The girl bit her lips and didn't talk. Yimo could only say, "I know your mum, do you want me to take you to your mom?" "You're lying." This time, the girl's reply was quick and crisp. Yimo smiled and said, "I didn't lie to you, your mother is called Yun Bing, she saved me once and is my teacher. If you trust me, I can take you to your mother." "You really know my mother?" "I'm Ting Ting. If you can really take me to my mother, I will go with you." Obviously, The girl was believing what Yimo was saying. This also meant that she knew about her mom's situation. Before Yimo replied, the phone on the table suddenly rung. Ever since he got the phone from Han Zixin, he had never picked up a call and always kept it in his storage ring. Even if someone called, it wouldn't reach. He didn't expect that as soon as he took it out, someone would call him. Yimo picked up the call and soon, there was a joyful voice. "Leader, I have reached him." Han Zixin's voice immediately sounded, "Brother Yi, your phone is really hard to reach." "Finally, I reached you today." Yimo frowned. He was scared of Han Zixin looking for business with him, but now it came. "Sorry, Brother Yi, I really need your help this time. If you are free, come to Beijing, we'll talk in person." It's hard to explain on the phone. Although Han Zixin said sorry, his tone didn't sound like he was sorry at all. Yimo helplessly hung up. He was going by Beijing anyways to see Yi Ling and Zifeng, so he might as well go and see Han Zixin. Yimo stood up and said to Zhao Bianyi, "You found Tingting, I owe you one. I'm going to leave with Tingting now." Hearing Yimo's words, Zhao Bianyi's face erupted with joy. Although Yimo didn't leave any contact methods, but he promised he owed him one. This couldn't be bought with money. He knew how strong Yimo was, so how powerful was his promise? What couldn't he do? He didn't leave a contact method, meaning that if it wasn't something big, then don't bother him. If he really couldn't deal with the situation, then try and find him. Moreover, it could also mean that if it was mafia wars, then don't ask him for help. Regardless of what it meant, since Yimo said that, it meant a lot to Zhao Bianyi. He didn't even need Yimo to do anything. As long as he put the word out, then his Western Sands status would rise straight up. Yimo came back to Beijing and called Yi Ling only to know that Yi Zifeng went to America with the investigation squad. Yi Ling also found an excuse to go, but she couldn't reach Yimo before she left. Although Yi Ling didn't say what sort of investigation squad it was, but Yimo knew something about it. It seemed that Yi Beirong wanted to cultivate Yi Zifeng heavily. This investigation squad must be related to government. Perhaps once Yi Zifeng came back, he only needed to write an article and would soon receive a decent position. Yimo wouldn't mind about these things, but since Yi Zifeng liked it, he would let him be. Everyone had their own path. "Brother Mo, my family before was living at Liyang district." Coming to Beijing, Tingting was soon excited. After leaving the airport, she could point out to a lot of things. "Do you want me to send you back?" Hearing this, Yimo casually asked Tingting. Tingting raised her lips and said, "I don't want to go back, they don't even let me go out to play. At most, I can go to kindergarten or go on the plane to America. They would never let me see my mum. I hate this place. The friends at kindergarten all have mothers but I don't. And my step-mum isn't nice to me at all." "Okay, in that case, I'll take you to your mum." Yimo laughed to himself. A little girl 6 years old really knew a lot. "Brother Mo, this district is where I lived before." Tingting pointed to a luxurious mansion and said. The driver heard this was where Tingting used to live and immediately had a look of admiration and carefulness because he knew that those who lived here weren't simple. Normal people couldn't come in here at all. Yimo subconsciously scanned out his spirit sense inside. His spirit sense had reached 100 meters. Yimo's face immediately changed. He actually saw Yun Bing. She was sitting in one of the mansions. Her face was pale and hair messy. She just kept shaking her head while saying something. Her eyes were red. "Driver, stop the car." Yimo immediately felt something happened to Yun Bing. "Brother Mo, are you going to take me to where I lived before?" Tingting saw that Yimo took her and flipped over the wall to get in. She felt this was fun but still asked worriedly, "I'll take you to see your mother." Yimo walked faster and quickly entered this mansion. Yun Bing's voice also sounded, "I didn't take Tingting away. Give me back Tingting. Give her back to me." Her tone was screeching. "Give her to you. Who knows where you got Tingting to?" A young woman came up to Yun Bing and slapped her in the face. Yun Bing seemed to be dumbed. Seeing this palm come, she didn't even react. Yimo suddenly appeared before Yun Bing and grabbed this hand. He twisted the hand and this woman was flung out away onto a distant corner. Yimo didn't use much force and just threw the woman away. Yi Mo, is that you? Yun Bing hadn't seen Tingting, who was let go by Yi Mo. She just saw Yi Mo and couldn't control her emotions. She fell into Yi Mo's arms and started crying. Yi Mo looked awkwardly at Yun Bing in his arms. Yun Bing's soft body and mature smell reached into his arms. Okay, you slut, keeping other men, no wonder Tingting. The woman had woken up and saw Yun Bing in Yi Mo's arms and immediately screamed. But she just said half and saw Tingting standing at the side. She immediately stopped. Yun Bing also reacted. She remembered where this place was. This was the place she feared the most. She actually did that to Yi Mo. If she wasn't terrified to a certain degree, she really wouldn't do that. Plus, she had been thinking about Yi Mo a lot and Yi Mo suddenly appeared in front of her. That's why she did that. The OU family only needed a word and she was moved from Ninghai to Beijing by her own family. When her family brought her here, they left immediately, not caring about her life or death. Seeing Yun Bing get up, Yi Mo finally felt relieved and said to Yun Bing, Ms. Yun, this is your daughter Tingting. After I found her, I was prepared to take her back to Ninghai, but I saw you here so I came. Yun Bing had forgotten to ask how Yi Mo saw she was here and just stared straight at Tingting. After a while, tears started to cover her face. Tingting, is that you? Mummy really miss you. Mummy. Tingting also recognized that this messy-haired person was her mom and rushed into her arms. The two hugged and cried. Ever since Tingting was born, she barely spent time with Tingting, but the connected spirit between the mother and daughter couldn't be separated. Who are you? How dare you come into our OU family? At this moment, a middle-aged man walked out. Yi Mo sneered but didn't talk. He turned to Yun Bing and said, Mrs. Yun, since Tingting is fine, we'll take her and leave. After crying for a while, Yun Bing had came to her sense. She just realized what her situation was and terror showed in her eyes once again. Leave. Do you think you can come and leave our OU family? This middle-aged man sneered again. As soon as he spoke, another youth with swollen eyes and an old man in his 50s came. The old man had a man in his 30s behind him. Yi Mo could tell that that man was not bad. The swollen eyes youth looked at Yi Mo before saying, Yun Bing, since my brother doesn't want you, marry me. As long as you marry me, I will help you with everything. Bastard, that old man swore. The youth didn't care and said, didn't big brother already go to America? And I really like Yun Bing. The old man ignored the youth and looked at Yun Bing and Tingting before saying, Tingting, tell me, did this bad woman trick you away? You are the bad person, she's my mummy. Tingting immediately grabbed Yun Bing's hand. The old man ignored Tingting and turned to look at Yi Mo. Although our OU family isn't a big family in Beijing, but it isn't a place where someone can come and go as they please. Feng'an, call Tan Yi and see if we should send him straight to police or teach him a lesson first. Yes. The man behind the old man immediately took out a phone. Yi Mo sneered. I, Yi Mo, can go wherever I want. There's no one who can stop me. Even if your OU family is one of the 5 big families, I, Yi Mo, can come and go as I please, much less when you're not. What can you do? Chapter 176, The Nightmare in Yun Bing's Eyes. Chapter 176, The Nightmare in Yun Bing's Eyes. You're saying you are Yi Mo? The Yi Mo of Beijing Yi family? That Yi Mo who made Yi Beirong send away his 2 sons? The old man didn't continue, but he was already sure that this Yi Mo was indeed that Yi Mo. If he really was that abandoned son of the Yi family, then that meant he was the person even the Song family didn't dare to mess with him, much less his OU family that was lesser than the Song family. This Yi Mo had killed more than a few of the Song family's people. Last week, the moment before Song Xiaochen died, he said he understood. No one knew what he understood, but everyone speculated that it should be related to Yi Mo. Even though everyone in the Song family knew that Song Xiaochen was killed by Yi Mo, still no one dared to find Yi Mo. The Song family didn't even dare to touch Yi Mo, so Yi Mo wasn't bluffing at all when he said he wasn't afraid of the OU family. Although this old man didn't know why the Song family was so scared of Yi Mo, but he knew that although the leader of the Song family Song Chiming was careful, there was no way that he would give up revenge on the person who killed his son. So, there must be scarier things about Yi Mo that he, OU Jinlong, didn't know. Oyu Jinlong's face looked bad. It wasn't that he didn't want Yimo to leave, but that he regretted what he said just then. Why didn't he investigate Yimo and at least know what he looked like? Although he was sure that the Oyu family wouldn't be afraid of Yimo, he didn't want to have to fight Yimo first and let other people get the advantage. If Oyu Jinling could realize this problem, so could that middle-aged man. A slightly famous family in Beijing would have heard of Yimo's name. Before Yimo appeared in Beijing, there were the 6 most cocky young masters. They were very cocky, but since Yimo appeared in Beijing, one of them has been sent away, and one was killed. The remaining 4 were all sent away by their family for fear of meeting Yimo. But now, the Oyu family sent their young master to America, but Yimo found them. Very cocky are you, I'll kick you to death. That bulging-eyed youth saw Yun Bing hide fearfully behind Yimo and was very angry. Why didn't she hide behind him? He finally couldn't resist it after hearing Yimo's words and kicked to Yimo. It was too late now for Oyu Jinlong to stop him. Yimo looked at this youth coldly and also kicked back. Yimo's leg landed on the youth's knee. There was a teeth-rubbing sound and Yimo's feet continued as it landed on the youth's chest. The youth was kicked out many meters away until he crashed on the wall and fell down. Blood spewed out of his mouth and one leg was obviously broken by Yimo. Oyu Jinling had an anticipation of Yimo's cockiness but didn't expect it to be of this degree. Kicking his grandson like that in front of him, if Yimo used a little more force, someone would have died. Yun Bing was scared witless. Yimo actually kicked the direct grandson of Oyu Jinling half dead and even broke his kneecaps. How could she not be scared? She just thought about what should we do now. Yimo got into a feud with the Oyu family because of her. She could only try to think of ways for Yimo to get away as far as possible. However, what made Yun Bing more confused was that Oyu Jinlong actually didn't go on a tantrum. He just said you in extreme fury and stopped. Yimo sneered. What about me? Very cocky? You're right, I'm cocky to you. I'm going now, is there someone going to stop me? Oyu Jinlong's face was green with anger. Although his Oyu family wasn't one of the 5 big families of Beijing, but their power was no less than that of the 5 great families. Normally, even the 5 great families tried to avoid conflict with the Oyu family. Thus, there was 6 young masters of Beijing, not 5. How could Oyu Jinling do nothing when a young man smashed into his door and acted so cocky in front of him? Even when he's retired, he still couldn't let it go. Okay. Oyu Jinlong was so angry he was stuttering. He couldn't understand why the Song family people could endure after Yimo killed their people. Yimo didn't kill his people, but he could no longer endure it. If the Song family could even endure that, it seemed that they were really on the downfall. Yimo sneered and looked at Oyu Jinlong. You're welcome to find your revenge, but don't blame me if you don't return. I hate people who threaten me. I'll give you a chance to exact revenge now. And, old thing, I'm warning you. If you dare to touch one of Yun Bing's hair next time, I will annihilate the Oyu family. I'm going, I'll be waiting for you to come for me. Then, Yimo took Yun Bing and Tingting and just left. He couldn't even be bothered to look at Oyu Jinlong, who was shaking with fury. Oyu Jinling breathed heavily and almost fainted. After a while, he finally recovered with people patting his back. The first thing he said when he woke up was, no matter the cost, we will send this punk to hell. If he thinks we're like the 5 great families, then he's blind. After the 3 had left that little district very far, Yun Bing finally woke up to reality and said, Yimo, hurry up and run as far as possible. Quick, when the Oyu family is ready, you won't be able to leave. Yimo smiled faintly. Don't worry, Mrs. Yun, I'm fine. I have feud with even the Song family, but I'm still walking fine on the streets, much less the Oyu family. At this moment, Yimo had greater realization of the importance of strength. If he hadn't reached stage 3 Kai gathering, then perhaps his bones would have been chewed away by the Song family. Even if the Song family didn't, Nanqing would have devoured him. You don't know how fierce the Oyu family is. I beg you, please go. Yun Bing saw Yimo was untouched and immediately began to worry. Mummy, why do you want Big Brother Mo to leave? Isn't it good for him to stay with us? Tingting saw that her mum wanted Yi Mo to leave and couldn't help but to ask. Yun Bing carried up Tingting and said, "Tingting, why are you calling him big brother? You need to call him uncle, okay?" Tingting raised her lips and said, "At Hong Kong, I saw many older people call him Brother Mo, so of course I will call him Mo Big Brother." "What? Tingting, you went to Hong Kong? How did you go there?" Yun Bing finally thought of asking how Tingting went to Hong Kong and forgot about Yi Mo's situation. Yi Mo recounted what happened in Hong Kong. "You know Tingting?" Yun Bing asked Yi Mo with curiosity. Yi Mo said, "I saw her that day in your room." Yun Bing immediately remembered that Yi Mo stayed in her house for a few days. She seemed to have thought of something and blushed. Yun Bing's face was pale due to what happened before, and now, it was very obvious when it suddenly changed red. "Mum, why is your face red?" Tingting immediately noticed and asked. Yun Bing awkwardly said, "Tingting, let's go, Mummy will buy you some snacks." Yun Bing moved Tingting's attention to snacks in one sentence and she unexpectedly didn't request Yi Mo to leave. Tingting wanted to go eat KFC so the three could only go eat some junk food, but Tingting was very happy. "Are you going back to Ninghai today?" Yun Bing suddenly asked Yi Mo. Although she wanted to be with Yi Mo, she didn't have any reason. Now that Tingting was by her side, she felt very happy. Even if she was killed due to the OU family's revenge, she didn't feel it was that bad. Of course, Yi Mo didn't know what Yun Bing was thinking, but it was nighttime, and he didn't know how long it would take to get back to Ninghai, so he said, "Not going back." "Then we'll go live at a hotel?" Yun Bing immediately asked and felt anticipation. Yi Mo shook his head. "I have a place to live in Beijing, it's where my sister Yi Ling and brother Yi Zifeng live at. But they never go there, so we'll go there today. What do you think, Mrs. Yun?" Hearing Yi Mo's words, Yun Bing actually felt better and immediately said, "Okay, it would be best not going to hotel. I didn't expect you to have somewhere to live in Beijing, but can you stop calling me Mrs. Yun from now on? Just call me Yun Bing or Sister Bing." "No problem, Sister Bing." Yi Mo was very grateful to Yun Bing risking her life to save him, and he never had the chance to repay her. Now that he could help her, he was very happy. Suddenly, Yun Bing seemed to have thought of something and looked at Yi Mo and said, "Your sister and brother? Are you the Yi families?" "Oh, sorry, I only heard about this from other people." Yi Mo smiled and said, "Don't worry, it's the truth, but my sister Yi Ling is very nice to me. So although I'm not of the Yi family in Beijing, Yi Ling is still my sister and Yi Zifeng is still my brother." Chapter 177. Is there going to be a spark? Chapter 177. Is there going to be a spark? Yi Mo arranged Yun Bing and Tingting into Yi Ling's room while he slept in Yi Zifeng's room. Tingting had been very tired going from Hong Kong to Beijing. She went to bed early after having a shower. However, Yun Bing stayed on the bed unable to sleep. She was thinking about what Yi Mo was doing, and how he knew that she was forcefully sent to the OU family. Yi Mo, however, was looking through those materials in the room. He was still missing a few materials to make the flying sword, so he packed them away and took out the map Mo Kang drew him. If what Mo Kang said was true, then he must go to that place. Even if there wasn't space abyssal rock, those precious herbs would be very important to him. After cultivating for 2 hours, Yi Mo was prepared to sleep when his door was knocked. Yi Mo subconsciously scanned out with his spirit sense and saw Yun Bing wearing her pajamas standing at the door. Her face was still a bit red. Sick. Didn't really look like it. Yi Mo opened the door and was just about to talk when Yun Bing rushed into his arms. He felt a soft, pleasant, scented body as his head buzzed. He just cultivated and his blood was gushing. At this time, Yun Bing rushed into his arms and so he was astonished. Yun Bing didn't think much. She was just really grateful to Yi Mo from the depth of her heart. If it wasn't for Yi Mo, she wouldn't even be able to see Tingting and would have probably died a few months ago. Yi Mo gave her a sense of security. She really liked that feeling, it made her peaceful and she really enjoyed it. When Yi Mo left, she always longed for that feeling. Sometimes, she thought she shouldn't, she was a few years older than Yi Mo, and Yi Mo was her student. How could she think like that? But today on the bed, she kept thinking about Yi Mo. She really couldn't fall asleep. She pumped courage for herself for a long time before finally having the guts to knock on Yimo's door. She really liked sleeping beside Yimo, that sense of comfort and serenity, she really liked it. Furthermore, in her heart, Yimo was impotent, so he couldn't do anything. Even if she slept by Yimo, Yimo wouldn't do anything to her. When Yimo treated Ning Qingxue and saw her busty white chest, he was also a bit itchy at heart. He hugged Luo Susu and Lu Susu even kissed him when he was unconscious. Although it wasn't intentional, his heart still rippled after thinking about it. But no matter what, he had never felt such a hot sensation like now. Yun Bing was like a ball of fire, a soft ball that gradually surrounded him. He just finished cultivation and this soft heat latched onto him, making him unable to hold on. He never had sex, but it didn't mean he didn't know about it. His body immediately started to react. The moment Yun Bing hugged Yimo closely, she was so comfortable she almost moaned. After a long time, she could finally fall asleep in Yimo's arms. Even if the OU family took revenge on them tomorrow, at least she had a great night. But Yun Bing immediately felt something was wrong. She felt a hot sturdy rod against her stomach. What was it? She subconsciously grabbed it. Ah! She immediately reacted. Before she was fully aware of what happened, she was so scared she ran out of the room and went into her own. She closed the door and breathed heavily. Yimo's body wasn't what she thought it was. He was very normal. After a long time, Yun Bing asked herself, why did she run? She went over there, meaning that she wouldn't mind it. Yun Bing understood that the reason she had the guts to knock on Yimo's door was because she knew Yimo couldn't do that. But the reality was the opposite. Not only could Yimo do that, he was also very sturdy and healthy. At least she grabbed it with her own hands and it was really. Yun Bing felt her face was hot and started to regret. She should have stayed. She suddenly really wanted it, but she had the courage to go to Yimo's room because she didn't think about it. Now that she thought about it and knew that Yimo could do it, she no longer had the courage to go over. She suddenly really hoped Yimo would come and call her over and she would immediately go. She felt her face was burning and heart pumping fast. For 28 years, she never had such thoughts and strong desires. After a long time, Yimo didn't call her and her heart gradually cooled. She suddenly felt ashamed for having such thought. She felt she was trying to entice Yimo. Yimo didn't expect Yun Bing to scream and run after finding out that he was normal and felt a little awkward. He understood why Yun Bing came. Although Yimo was aroused by Yun Bing just then, he was a cultivator. After a few spirit-cleansing chants, he suppressed his fire. Yimo laid on the bed reminiscing Yun Bing. Her body was very soft and bouncy. He had seen her nude before but never like today with fire and desperation. He remembered that Tian He. She was also wearing pajamas and hugged him. He remembered he also reacted that day. Was it related to what he was cultivating? How could he not deal with this little enticement? Although Yimo didn't know why Yun Bing came to find him at night, he knew that since she came, she wouldn't reject him too much. If he went now and shamelessly pursued her, perhaps she would agree. Yimo shook his head. He felt that if something happened between him and Yun Bing now, it would be complete lust. Although he felt Yun Bing was a good person, he wasn't at the degree of falling in love with her. Love. Yimo suddenly thought of Luo Ying and Lu Susu. The two seemed to move about in front of his eyes and they overlapped each other. This feeling was very strange. He even wanted to grab Luo Susu's hand and ask if she was Luo Ying. But Luo Susu was in her 20s and she didn't seem to be in the same situation as him. How could she be Luo Ying? In the morning, Yimo found that Yun Bing had already made breakfast. Yun Bing was still a bit embarrassed to look at Yimo. She didn't even dare to meet eyes with Yimo. However, Yimo didn't care. He ate breakfast and played with Tingting for a while before saying, "Sister Bing, I'm going out to do something and going back to Luokang in the afternoon." "Are you still going back to Ninghai? You live at Luokang now?" Yun Bing suddenly remembered she hadn't asked where Yimo lived at now. Although she knew that the OU family probably feared Yimo a little, but Yimo lived at Luokang and she lived at Ninghai. The OU family couldn't deal with Yimo, but they could do something to her and Tingting. "I'm living at Luokang now, but..." Yimo saw the worry in Yun Bing's eyes and thought for a while before saying, "Don't worry about the OU family, I will remove this threat for you." Yimo's phone couldn't be reached again. Just when Han Zixin was worried, he received news that Yimo came to Beijing and caused some trouble at the OU family. Han Zixin's eyes brightened up. He was just thinking about how to make Yimo submit himself, but now Yimo went to start trouble with the OU family. This Yimo was a restless one. "Brother Han, are you thinking of some nasty idea again, making me do free labor?" Just when Han Zixin was thinking about how to make Yimo do things for him willingly, Yimo's voice suddenly appeared by his ear, scaring Han Zixin that he almost jumped. His place was heavily guarded. How did the guards not notice him when Yimo came? "How did you come in?" Han Zixin looked at Yimo in surprise and asked. Yimo smiled and said, "It's not important how I came in. What's important is what you want with me. Otherwise, I'm going back. I'm really busy lately, I don't have time to chat with you." Han Zixin laughed and put aside how Yimo came in. He thought if Yimo didn't have some power, he wouldn't need him in the first place. "Of course I need your help, you must not decline. It said very clearly on our agreement last time." Han Zixin quickly said. He was afraid Yimo would say he had no time. Yimo smiled and said, "Indeed, I especially took out the agreement and looked. It said very clearly, I will do something for flying snow once every 2 years, and this first time was after I chose real materials. Now, I haven't chosen anything yet, how can you make me help you? This is said clearly on the paper, do you want me to show you?" Hearing Yimo's words, Han Zixin rubbed his head helplessly. He thought that he didn't need Yimo for normal things and flying snow could deal with the problems 99% of the times, so he asked for Yimo to help once in 2 years. He didn't expect the trouble to come quick, so he had to beg Yimo to help. That's correct, but I really need your help this time. Although Zhongju is not bad, he is still missing something." Han Zixin knew he had no right to ask for Yimo to help this time, but he really couldn't find anyone better than Yimo. Yimo sneered but didn't talk. Although his cultivation was progressing slow now, but he didn't want to waste time on this. He would do as he said, and it wasn't yet time to fulfill his promise yet. "I can help you deal with the OU family. And, the OU family is prepared to make a move on you," Han Zixin suddenly said. Yimo said plainly, "They are not a threat. The reason I didn't do anything yesterday was because Tingting was there. So I don't need you to mind this thing. Don't do something rash," Han Zixin quickly said. Chapter 178, OU Family's Dependence. Chapter 178, OU Family's Dependence. Yimo knocked the table before slowly saying, "Perhaps I won't just be doing that." Then he stood up. He was now stage 3 Kai gathering. If the OU family dared to make a move, then he was prepared to exterminate them and then go exterminate the Song family before finding the hidden sects. Although he knew he probably won't get far with his current power in the hidden sects, he believed he could at least stay alive. "Wait, what's your condition? I'll see if I can do it." Seeing that Yimo was going to leave, Han Zixin finally couldn't sit down anymore. He believed that if Yimo were to go, it would be much harder to find him again. Yimo smiled, thinking he fell for it. He turned around and looked at Han Zixin. "The girl behind you last time was your granddaughter?" Han Zixin thought, "Does he have an interest in her?" He felt joyful but pretended to be angry and said, "Don't think about my granddaughter. She's not ordinary, normal people can't even begin to think about her. Although you are not bad, but I think, it's still a bit hard." Han Zixin knew that it was hard to find a person in the mortal world to marry her, but he really admired Yimo's abilities. If he really did like his granddaughter, then he wouldn't mind helping him. Yimo said once again, "Elder Han, you're thinking too much. Your granddaughter is so excellent, how can I dare to think about her? Plus, I already have someone I like, don't worry about it, Elder Han." "Then what do you mean?" Han Zixin asked annoyedly. Yimo said, "If I guessed right, your daughter is from the hidden sects, right? My first condition is simple, that is, after I've done what you want, your granddaughter will lead me into the hidden sects. As long as I go in, she doesn't need to do anything else. Keep dreaming." Han Yang with an ice-cold face walked in. She was hiding behind the door while listening to Yimo's request. She quickly stepped out, fearing that her grandpa would agree. Yimo smiled and didn't say anything. He knew where Hanyang was hiding. If he could enter the hidden sects with Hanyang's help, it would save him a lot of time. Even someone as rich as Mo Kang spent 16 years knowing the way and how to get Indiana. As such, this made Yimo worry about getting in the hidden sects. Han Zixin waved his head. Don't mention this. This isn't something that only Yang could decide. If she brought you in, she wouldn't be able to get away with it herself. What's your second condition? Yimo shook his head and said, since we can't even agree on the first, there's no use talking about the second. Han Zixin's mouth spasmed, thinking that this guy really stood firm. He turned and said to Han Yang, bring that ore and show him. Hearing about ore, Yimo's ear moved and immediately focused his attention. Han Yang walked over helplessly and took out a wooden box. She opened it and there was a pale green organ. It seemed like jade, but Yimo could tell it wasn't jade. Yimo took the stone and scanned it with his spirit sense. Green silver sand. You know this stone? This is a stone, why do you call it sand? Han Yang subconsciously asked. Yimo put down the stone and said, this stone is useless for you, you can give it to me and count it as my first condition. If Yimo had this ore, then he would only be missing 2 materials to make his flying sword. Han Yang sneered. Good things are useless to me, you really overestimate yourself. Tell me, why is this big rock called sand? Yimo explained, of course it's called sand, did you think sand had to be very small? I've seen green silver sand much bigger than this, at least 10 times bigger. Han Yang had a look of disbelief. This guy really knew how to bluff. If Grandpa didn't value him so much, she would teach him a lesson. Although he was not bad, but he should probably be a far cry from her. But Grandpa had to say she couldn't do this alone and needed Yimo's help. Han Zixin laughed and said, okay, this is yours, let's hear your second condition. Yimo spoke, the second condition is of course to kick the OU family out of the Beijing upper class. If you can't even do this, then I'd rather not have your green silver sand. It was impossible not to take the green silver sand. Yimo wanted to see how powerful Han Zixin was. If it wasn't enough, then he would do it himself. The OU family was scarier than the Song family, Yimo could tell from OU Jinlong's arrogant expression. The Song family didn't dare to touch his family before something happened to him, but the OU family dared to do so. Yi Ling and Yi Zifeng were still at Beijing. Han Zixin thought for a while before saying, OU family is nothing to worry about. However, they have one in the politics and one in martial arts. OU Tanya, don't worry about him. Although he has a pretty high position, but he has done too much illegal things. The reason we haven't brought him down is because of the other person in the OU family, he's called OU Tanhu. He is a madman. He came from the hidden sects and isn't the least bit reasonable. Even we can't do anything about him. After he murders, he will escape to the hidden sects and come back after a while. We don't know why he can come and go out of the hidden sects. That time in Beijing, never mind, let's not talk about this. I presume he might even be stronger than you. Not even Yang is a match for him, so before something happens to OU Tanhu, I wouldn't touch the OU family, but I can help you resolve the issue. Yimo sneered and said, no need, I'll deal with it myself. I'm genuinely trying to warn you, although you're not bad, but I feel you're not as strong as OU Tanhu. Once you completely piss them off and OU Tanhu is involved, then that would be a certain death situation, Han Zixin worriedly said. Yimo didn't reply Han Zixin and said to himself, I need to go back to Luo Kang once. Didn't you say you agreed to help me once? Why are you going back to Luo Kang now? I haven't told you what I need help with, Han Zixin quickly said. Yimo thought that if he went back to Luo Kang and this OU Tanhu did things without thinking consequences, then it would be really bad. Although he was like that too sometimes, he still had his sense. He did everything with a purpose. However, he heard this OU Tanhu was a madman. After he did those crazy things, there would be no use even if he killed him. Thinking about this, Yimo said, you should know where I used to live in Ninghai, right? This I know. Han Zixin's old face blushed. He had done his research on Yimo. He even knew that Yi Mo was the masqueraded Shi Ying at Ninghai. Yi Mo also knew that Han Zixin would definitely investigate him, but he didn't mind it. He said, "Send someone to come get some grass with me and help me plant it in my flower pot at where I live in Ninghai. Oh, and tell Xu Wei that I planted it and ask her to help me look after it for a few days." Of course, Han Zixin agreed without hesitation. "Okay, I'll be going first. Prepare to deal with the OU family. Don't make me do it. If I do it, it won't be in the way you want. I will deal with OU Tanhu. After I'm done with the OU family, then you tell me what I need to do." Yi Mo turned and left, of course, not forgetting about the green silver sand. Seeing Yi Mo was still adamant on taking on the OU family and even OU Tanhu after his persuasion, Han Zixin wanted to say something but eventually didn't. "Grandpa, do you want me to help him?" Han Yang knew OU Tanhu wasn't someone easy to deal with. Han Zixin shook his head and said, "If he really could finish OU Tanhu, then I'll take this opportunity to remove the OU family. But if he isn't a match for OU Tanhu, and still goes to fight him ignoring my persuasion, then there's no benefit in him participating in this. It could only mean that I picked the wrong person. A person so impulsive cannot take this mission of mine." "But Grandpa, I feel that Yi Mo is a very impulsive person," Han Yang said. Han Zixin shook his head. "Not necessarily, although Yi Mo is impulsive, he doesn't seem to be that impulsive. Plus, this time, the OU family has decided to make a move on Yi Mo, but I just haven't told him yet. I wanted to use this mission to draw him away from Beijing to escape OU Tanhu, but he insists on fighting, so we'll see how strong he really is." "Grandpa, what if he really could kill OU Tanhu?" Han Yang suddenly felt that Yi Mo wasn't that simple. From how she didn't realize he got in the door today, she realized that she couldn't completely read him. If OU Tanhu really is no match for Yi Mo, then things would be good. Some things really need to be managed. Hidden sects, they are a hidden calamity, although they don't come out to fight for power, but the occasional one or two who comes out can immediately upset the balance. Han Zixin sighed. After a long while, Han Zixin stood up again and said, "No matter if Yi Mo can succeed, we must prepare. Yang I'm going out. Once Yi Mo comes back again, it would mean that he has finished OU Tanhu. Then you can tell him the thing. If he didn't, then never mind." Chapter 179, The Killing Blow That Was Not Used. Chapter 179, The Killing Blow That Was Not Used. Yi Mo returned home, but Yun Bing wasn't there. After he gave the grass to the person Han Zixin sent, he was prepared to call Yun Bing when the door opened by itself. At the door stood a sturdy man in his 30s. His hair was long and his forehead was broad. If it wasn't for that triangular-shaped eyes, he would look quite majestic. But that triangular eyes ruined the overall image and made him seem violent. "You got balls, how dare you go on a rampage at my OU family?" Although the man's voice was low, it had this sharpness in its tone that made people feel uncomfortable. Yi Mo stopped what he was doing and looked at the man before calmly saying, "You are OU Tanhu?" "Not bad, the OU family acted quite fast." "Indeed, I'm OU Tanhu." "Young man, you have balls, but if you think the OU family is a sissy like the Song family, then you just wait and die. 21 years ago, there was a big family that was no lesser than the current 5 big families. Do you know how they disappeared? Indeed, you got it, my Shixiong, one, and I killed them in one night, regardless of old and young. It seems it's your Yi family this time. Don't worry, I will make it clean. At most, I'll just hide for another few years." OU Tanhu seemed to be smiling, but his cold tone didn't have the slightest feeling of a smile. Yi Mo's eyes frowned, thinking this person was so sinister. Even he didn't plan on killing the entire Song family. At most, he would the main members and kick them out of Beijing. No matter what, Yi Mo was not planning to let this man go. He was too cruel, and that Shixiong he mentioned was also very evil. Once in conflict with these type of people, one must kill them immediately or there would be unfathomable consequences. "You just got here." Yi Mo suddenly thought of Yun Bing. She wasn't here, could she be taken away by the OU family? OU Tanhu sneered. "You don't have much of a future, We martial artists can have woman any time and place we want, but you're still thinking about her even now. Yimo didn't expect Oyu Tanhu to know what he was thinking with just one sentence. This guy was no impulsive man like Han Zixin described. He was obviously a cunning person. Yimo sighed. If Oyu Tanhu was really impulsive, he would have been long dead. It seemed that Han Zixin was also tricked by Oyu Tanhu's facade. Where do you want to fight? Lead the way. Whether or not Yunbing was taken away by the Oyu family people, he needed to finish Oyu Tanhu now. You're bold. Then, Oyu Tanhu didn't even look at Yimo and went downstairs. Yimo closed the door and followed Oyu Tanhu onto his car without asking a question. He could tell that Oyu Tanhu was strong, but he was still a little weaker than Daoistzian. He could kill Daoistzian, so why would he worry about an Oyu Tanhu? But this man was at most in his teens 21 years ago, and he could still kill old and young. It could be seen how cruel he was. It was such a waste that he didn't live in the cultivation realm. Oyu Tanhu seemed to know that Yimo would follow him. He got in a Range Rover and drove to the rural areas. He knew that Yimo must be decent, but it would cause too much attention in the city. That wouldn't benefit him killing the Yi family later. Yimo scanned Oyu Tanhu with his spirit sense. It appears that he came bare-handed, but his real weapon was a short sword that was packed at his chest. Plus, Oyu Tanhu was tall and big, thus that small sword was covered by his clothes. Oyu Tanhu didn't drive very far. As soon as they left the city, he stopped by an abandoned saw station. Perhaps to him, it would only be a few minutes before he killed Yimo. Oyu Tanhu got off the car and looked at Yimo with a sneer. No need to say any last words, your Yi family will end today. But don't worry about Yunbing, although I haven't taken her away, but I really want to know what a woman who you can't forget tastes like. Yimo suddenly closed his eyes as though Oyu Tanhu was just air. F***ck, you want to die. Oyu Tanhu was very angry and suddenly punched towards Yimo's chest. Before his fist arrived, the wind arrived. Yimo saw Oyu Tanhu's anger but shook his head. He didn't think Oyu Tanhu would be angered so easily. No matter what Oyu Tanhu was like, he underestimated Yimo. He thought he could easily take out Yimo and didn't need waste time talking to him, but he was also someone who could be easily taken out in Yimo's eyes. Yimo struck out his fist without hesitation, and it collided with Oyu Tanhu's fist. Oyu Tanhu sneered. This punk dared to clash fists with him. His fist was originally going to be a hollow attack, and he was going to cut Yimo in half when he dodged. He didn't like to waste time. Although he could still kill Yimo without using the sword, he would never go for a harder way if there was an easier way. Now that Yimo dared to clash fists with him, he turned his hollow attack into a real attack and smashed with full force towards Yimo's chest. He was confident he would shatter Yimo's arms and crush Yimo's chest. The instant their fists clashed, Oyu Tanhu knew it wasn't good. The inner chi Yimo had on his fists were much purer than the inner chi he had. Yimo was an inner chi master. The moment Oyu Tanhu realized this, his back immediately sweated. He underestimated Yimo too much. He shouldn't have used all his power in that fist and should have left some power. If he saved some power, he could still change his attack or even take out his sword and kill Yimo, but now, that was impossible. Their fists have clashed. Oyu Tanhu just felt as though his fists hit steel, but this was not over. After the steel shattered his bones, it reached out and grabbed his fist. Oyu Tanhu was regretting it so much. If he didn't change his move kept his punch a hollow attack and then sneak attacked Yimo with his sword, he was 90% sure it would hit Yimo. Even if he didn't sneak attack, as long as he didn't underestimate Yimo, he still felt that Yimo was no match for him. But there was only once chance and he wasted it, even destroying his left hand in the process. He didn't expect Yimo's inner chi to be so pure. Was this even still inner chi? He had never heard of someone who was able to cultivate their inner chi to be so pure and thick. Perhaps this wasn't inner chi, but his thought stopped there. Before he had the time to retreat, he heard another crack, like a branch that had been snapped. There was massive pain and Oyu Tanhu's heart sank. He knew his hand was snapped, but this wasn't what made him terrified the most. The most terrifying thing was that he couldn't even see his left hand. Yimo just pulled off his hand. One missed move and this was the result. Oyu Tanhu looked at his blood-dripping wrist as the veins on his head bulged. There was madness and ferocity in his eyes as he smashed his right fist towards Yimo without thinking of the consequences. Yimo sneered, this guy still wanted to use the move he wasn't able to use before. Did he not know there was a sword hidden on his chest? Yimo was sure Oyu Tanhu had a way to pull out the sword instantly and stab it to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have so much faith in it. Yimo still didn't dodge and struck his fist out. Oyu Tanhu cruelly smiled. Yimo broke his wrist, so he wanted to slice Yimo into a million pieces. But soon, he felt something was wrong as a frosty wind swept towards his right fist. What was this? Oyu Tanhu's eyes were good, but he just felt a frosty wind and didn't see any projectiles. Was his senses wrong? Oyu Tanhu's eyes narrowed. Even if it was a projectile, he would still attack and kill Yimo with the sword. But the next moment, Oyu Tanhu's heart was scared *less. He found that his wrist hand fell to the ground for no reason, still in a fist shape. Projectile? Was that frosty wind really a projectile and such a powerful one? Oyu Tanhu screamed inside. He didn't think he would lose so completely and simply. You! Before he could ask who the hell Yimo was, he was kicked in the chest. Spew! Oyu Tanhu spat out mouthfuls of blood and laid paralyzed on the ground, and his organs were completely shattered with this kick. He only had one thought, such thick inner chi, how did he cultivate this? I'm not reconciled to this. Oyu Tanhu spat out more blood and yelled hysterically. Yimo walked forward, pulled out a sword from Oyu Tanhu's clothes and sneered. You're not reconciled to this, is it because you didn't get to use your sword? You! Oyu Tanhu completely froze. How did Yimo know the sword was his killing blow? 1. TL note, Shishyoung Di, elder younger disciple under the same master, referring to male Shijemai, elder younger disciple under the same master, referring to female. Not necessarily always under the same master, can be used just as a way to refer to people. My Shishyoung will exact revenge for me. These were Oyu Tanhu's last words. My Shishyoung will exact revenge for me. These were Oyu Tanhu's last words. Oyu Tanhu was very decisive, and Yimo wasn't able to ask anything useful from him. He was not only cruel to others but cruel to himself as well. However, Yimo found 2 words, broken fists, from the hilt of that sword. The work was not bad, same quality as that whip Yimo got. When Yimo went back home, Yun Bing and Ting Ting had come back. After asking, he knew that Yun Bing went out to help Ting Ting buy clothes. Now that he had pulled out the tooth of the Oyu family, Yimo estimated that there was not much danger for Yun Bing, so he went for Han Zixin. He would leave the remaining things for Han Zixin to deal with. If he couldn't even do such a simple thing, it would mean that he was not genuine. For someone who wasn't genuine, Yimo would rather not have the green silver sand than cooperating with them. Yimo wouldn't be like Oyu Tanhu and go out killing everyone, but if Han Zixin didn't make an attack, then he would kill at least all the heads of the family. Why did you come back so fast? Weren't you going to look for Oyu Tanhu? Han Zixin wasn't at home but Han Yang was. She seemed to be immune to Yimo popping in and out of nowhere. Yimo dropped the sword and sighed, there's no longer such a person. What? You killed Oyu Tanhu this quick? Han Yang picked up that sword in disbelief and checked it carefully before saying, indeed, this is his sword, it has the mark of the Broken Fist Hall. Broken Fist Hall? Yimo repeated. He still remembered that Oyu Tanhu said his Shishyoung would avenge him, so he need to be wary. Since his Shishyoung could kill an entire big family with him, it meant that this Shishyoung was also a cruel character. Han Yang seemed to realize she said something she shouldn't have and quickly said again, wait, I'll call my grandpa. Embark Lake was the most beautiful lake in Beijing. Not only was it beautiful, but it also crossed a sixth of Beijing, so it was also called a sixth lake. Embark Lake not only had an army stationed there from the Beijing military district, but all the upper class and leaders of Beijing were living around here. Thus, Embark Lake was also called the wealthy lake by normal citizens. At this moment, in the most heavily guarded building sat 6 old men, even the youngest among them was older than 50. Zixin, You're saying that Yi Mo really has enough capability to finish Oyu Tanhu? This isn't a joke. If that ferocious tiger is pissed off, the Yi family would also be in danger. The person speaking was in his 60s, middle build and seemed slightly slim, but his spirit was high. Han Zixin said, Director, don't worry, if Yi Mo really is no match for Oyu Tanhu, I have made preparations. I won't let what happened 20 years ago happen again. Yes, we'll get rid of that tiger even if it costs something. Even without Yi Mo, we would still do this. This Oyu Tanhu is getting more and more out of control. The old man nodded and said hardly. No one else spoke. They knew it would cost them heavily to kill someone like Oyu Tanhu. There was an ancient martial arts cultivator who was weaker than Oyu Tanhu, but in order to capture him, the country lost an entire special forces before finally killing him. One special forces squad, how much would it cost for a country to train them? It could be imagined that in order to capture Oyu Tanhu, the losses wouldn't be a simple number. Because behind Oyu Tanhu, there was a hidden sect. If they angered this sect, then the country's losses would be inestimable. This was why all hierarchy felt threatened by the hidden sects, because they had the capability. Good thing was they usually didn't intervene in national affairs and even send some people to help with things. This Oyu Tanhu was also very cunning. After he did that thing 20 years ago, he went and hid in the hidden sects for 10 years before coming out. Each time, he didn't come out for long, as though reminding others that the Oyu family still had him. If Yi Mo could kill Oyu Tanhu, it would be the best for the country because the person who killed him was Yi Mo. Eventually, the hidden sects would go look for Yi Mo's trouble, not someone else. Although some hidden sects people work for the country, the hidden sects also had a rule in which the people from hidden sects must not fight each other for outside world reasons. If they did, perhaps the hidden sects would have been long gone. Only someone like Yi Mo who didn't know anything dared to kill Oyu Tanhu. The old man, who was about the same age as Han Zixin, said, I heard Yi Mo finished off Nanqing's Chen Longtu. If he really has so much power, then perhaps he really can. Before Han Zixin spoke, a guard rushed in with a phone and said, Elder Han, an urgent call. All the people here in this meeting were the hierarchy of China. Even if the guard didn't say it was urgent, they knew it would be urgent. Han Zixin picked up the phone and it only took a few sentences before hanging up in joy. What is it, old Han? The most impetuous old man asked. Han Zixin said with joy and surprise, I just received news that Yi Mo killed Oyu Tanhu and is now talking with Han Yang. The news is from my granddaughter. It will be reliable. What? That evil tiger of the Oyu family has been killed. Zixin, Shiping, immediately carry out number 2 plan. Subjugate Oyu Tanya and Oyu Zhen. The old man stood up in excitement and said. Not only did this man stand up in excitement, but so did everyone else. It was 2 different concepts, Yi Mo killing Oyu Tanhu and the country killing Oyu Tanhu. Without Oyu Tanhu, the Oyu family was not a concern. Han Yang put the phone down and looked at Yi Mo, thinking that the old man was always wiser. She didn't see anything extraordinary about Yi Mo, but her grandpa could. Thinking for a while, she said to Yi Mo, since you can kill Oyu Tanhu, it means you are capable to carry out this mission. I will tell the plan to you and we can discuss what to do. Yi Mo waved his hand and said, Don't tell me, I don't want to know now. You can contact me after I see what happens to the Oyu family. I'm going first. Yi Mo walked out without hesitation and there was nothing Han Yang could do. When Yi Mo came back, Yun Bing and Ting Ting sat nervously in the house. Perhaps Yun Bing noticed something was wrong. Seeing Yun Bing's helpless manner, Yi Mo felt helpless. Seeing Yi Mo come back, Yun Bing stood up in joy. It could be seen that she was really happy. Let's go, I'll take you guys to get something to eat. Yi Mo estimated that even if Han Zixin agreed to bring down the Oyu family, it wouldn't be this quick. Ting Ting, who was waiting desperately, heard Yi Mo's words and immediately ran over. To her, eating was the most important thing. She heard from Yi Mo that the Oyu family was dealt with, and she didn't need to worry about the Oyu family anymore and could stay with her mum all the time. Yun Bing obviously seemed delighted. Although she didn't know how Yi Mo did it, she trusted in Yi Mo. Because from running into conflict with the Oyu family yesterday till now, nothing had happened to her. It meant that the OU family was cautious of Yi Mo. Yunbing was thinking through whom Yi Mo reached accordance with that the OU family had to let her go. She never would have thought Yi Mo was completely destroying the OU family from its roots. Yi Mo feared eating KFC the most, but luckily, Tingting didn't insist on eating KFC again. She wanted to eat Western cuisine. Although Yi Mo didn't like it either, Tingting wanted to go, so he would deal with it. Seeing Yi Mo and Tingting walking in front, Yunbing suddenly lost herself in thought, thinking that if only things could stay like this forever. She only felt safe when she was with Yi Mo. She suddenly remembered that day at Ninghai University when Yi Mo was being very aggressive towards her. "If you dare to touch me again, I will make the Ning Lake the place where you take a bath." That was what he said to her. She wanted to fight him with her life at the time, but now, she followed behind him looking at him and Tingting. She sighed. She knew that after this, Yi Mo was going to be on his own path, but she needed to take Tingting back to Ninghai. The only difference was that she had Tingting and there was no threat of the OU family. She suddenly had a strange thought: what would happen if she didn't run away last night? Thinking about this, her heart burned. Perhaps it could be possible tonight. Yunbing was shocked by her own thoughts. What was happening to her? Yunbing subconsciously looked at Yi Mo. She was thinking why Ning Qingxue would reject someone so excellent. Yunbing subconsciously looked around and saw another person. It was Feng Rong. Feng Rong was in a rush and quickly walked inside a bar with his head low. Yunbing suddenly really wanted to ask Feng Rong about what happened those years ago and followed him into the bar. Of course, Yi Mo knew when Yunbing suddenly left. He saw that Yunbing didn't even tell him and went into the bar with Feng Rong and guessed that there must be something going on. Yi Mo also wanted to bring Tingting in with him when a voice interrupted him. "Punk, I haven't been able to find you, but I finally met you here today. Bad luck." The person speaking seemed to be very angry, as though he had caught a long-time enemy. "Punk, I haven't been able to find you, but I finally met you here today. Bad luck." The person speaking seemed to be very angry, as though he had caught a long-time enemy. Yi Mo recognized who it was. It was Qing Zun from Hua University. It seemed that he resented him quite a bit, and probably thought of him as a love enemy. "Brother Zun, who is this punk?" A youth from behind Qing Zun walked up. His hair was dyed yellow and had a girl that was younger than 20 in his arms. Qing Zun didn't turn around and casually said, "This is the guy that tricked away Yang Qing. Didn't think I would meet him here. Kai Bing, call up a few people. I'm going to beat him until his dad doesn't even recognize him." "But Brother Zun, what about Yang Qing?" the yellow-haired youth casually asked. Qing Zun subconsciously looked at the bar ahead and said, "Next time then, since I have one chance, I'll have another. But since we met him today, we can't let him escape." Yi Mo sneered and couldn't even be bothered paying attention to Qing Zun. He carried Tingting and walked towards the bar. "You want to die?" Qing Zun saw Yi Mo acting so arrogant, ignoring him and just walking away, causing him to immediately get triggered. He raised his hand and grabbed towards Yi Mo, wanting to subjugate him. Although he couldn't fight on the streets, he couldn't let Yi Mo get away. "Qing Zun, what are you doing?" As soon as Zhuo Yangqing and another girl walked to the door of the bar, she saw Qing Zun grab towards Yi Mo. The moment she saw Yi Mo, she felt really happy to be able to see him again. That day after Yi Mo left, she had called him countless times but wasn't able to reach him. She even thought Yi Mo was lying, but her cousin Zhuo Huatang indeed recovered. Just as soon as Qing Zun heard Zhuo Yangqing's words, he felt this huge power kick into his chest. He was kicked flying a few meters away, crashing into a bin. Kai Bing also looked at Yi Mo in shock, even forgetting to help Qing Zun up. He didn't expect Yi Mo to be so strong. He clearly knew that even if he called up people, what could they do to him? "Hurry up and piss off. Do you want me to kick you again?" Yi Mo yelled at the yellow-haired guy. Kai Bing reacted and quickly ran to Qing Zun. As he left, he added, "You dare attack Qing Zun, you're gonna." At this moment, Zhuo Yangqing had rushed in front of Yi Mo. She also saw Yi Mo's kick and yelled out in shock. Yi Mo noticed the girl beside Zhuo Yangqing. She was as good-looking as Zhuo Yangqing, The delicate expression in her eyes made her seem more attractive than Zhuo Yangqing. Her eyes were big and seemed very innocent. At least, nothing unlikable could be seen from the surface. People couldn't help to like her just looking at her innocent and delicate look. Zhuo Yangqing had reacted. She didn't expect Yi Mo to be so strong. It seemed he was not only a master of medicine, but also in martial arts. This made Zhuo Yangqing excited as she charged up, grabbing Yi Mo and saying, "Dr. Yi, I didn't think you were so strong. Qing Zun is a member of our school's martial arts association." But soon, she found that Yi Mo's attention was on the girl who came with her. She pouted and said, "Hey uncle, don't look at her with eyes like wolves please. She is the prettiest girl in our school, don't even think about it, don't forget you're a big uncle." Zhuo Yangqing immediately changed Yi Mo's title from doctor to uncle. She was rather unsatisfied. She came up to greet Yi Mo, but he treated her like air. Hearing Zhuo Yangqing's words, the girl called Shuang walked up and shyly said, "Hello senior student, I'm Yangqing's classmate, Nai Shuang." Yi Mo suddenly felt a little cold. He couldn't tell why he felt that way. His spirit sense noticed that when Nai Shuang looked at his kick, there was a ray of astute. She wasn't as shy as she acted at all. There was this sense from her that made him feel cold. Yi Mo's sense were right because he had spirit sense. This Nai Shuang wasn't simple, even a bit eerie. "You're Nai Shuang? Do you live in Beijing?" Yi Mo's questions made Zhuo Yangqing more unhappy. It seemed that Yi Mo was really taking an interest into Nai Shuang. He had never asked who she was the first time he saw her. Nai Shuang lowered her head in worry. Although she was sure Yi Mo couldn't see, she didn't know Yi Mo had spirit sense, and her expression was caught completely by Yi Mo. Zhuo Yangqing spoke at this moment. "Uncle Yi Mo, stop asking. Shuang is living at her auntie's house and she doesn't really like to talk. If you want to ask something, just ask me. But don't chase Shuang. As for why, don't ask. Shuang is a person with misfortune. And, she's scared of talking to guys." Yi Mo nodded. Although he didn't know Nai Shuang, but he knew she was completely wrong. His spirit sense found a rather strong sense of the other sex. This woman was not only not a shy girl, but instead a very lustful girl. He didn't know why Zhuo Yangqing would stay with a girl like that, but Yi Mo knew it wasn't something he could manage. As long as it didn't harm her, he wouldn't care. But at this moment, Shuang secretly studied Yi Mo, and her eyes happened to be caught by Yi Mo. Her face blushed more. Of course, Zhuo Yangqing also saw Nai Shuang's glance and felt annoyed. These two were mutually attracted and ignored her as though she was air. Was she that ugly? Yi Mo had decided to ask his sister about her. If his sister knew about her, she would tell his sister to stay away from her. This woman wasn't easy to mess with. He wanted to remind Zhuo Yangqing, but he resisted the urge after seeing Zhuo Yangqing's face. He casually said, "I have some business at the bar, you guys have fun." "Wait, we also want to go to the bar. It's rare that Shuang want to come out for a drink, so I'll be going with her," Zhuo Yangqing immediately said. Then, she looked at Tingting in Yi Mo's arms and asked, "Brother Yi, this girl is so cute, who is she?" Yi Mo wanted to cry and laugh. In the short brief moment, Zhuo Yangqing called him with 3 different things. He remembered what Kai Bing said. Kai Bing and Qing Zun obviously knew Zhuo Yangqing was coming to this bar. How did they know? Thinking about this, Yi Mo casually asked, "Qing your uncle is my friend and you're still studying at school. It's not a good thing coming to the bar, especially this far from your school." "Phut, uncle, brother Yi, how much older are you than me? Stop talking to me like that. Shuang wanted to come out for a drink today, not me. She said she liked here, so we came," Zhuo Yangqing nonchalantly said. Then, she immediately said, "The recipe you gave us last time, my aunt has prepared it, can you go back with me today?" Nai Shuang pulled Zhuo Yangqing's clothes, wanting her to stop talking. However, Zhuo Yangqing still said, "What are you scared of? We're all adults, just coming out for a drink." Yi Mo looked again at Nai Shuang, thinking that it was indeed because of her. It seemed that Zhuo Yangqing was being sold and still counted money for her. This girl was too dumb, and this Nai Shuang was too insidious. Thinking about this, Yi Mo said, "In that case, let's go drink together, on me." The reason he wanted to help Zhuo Yangqing was due to Zhuo Aiguo. Zhuo Aiguo was a good person, and he seemed to look after Zhuo Yangqing quite a lot. But Yangqing, sorry, I think Brother Yi is right, so I won't go. Nai Shuang spoke and secretly looked at Yi Mo. Her eyes were blossoming more red, rendering the sense of an innocent girl. Shuang, you're so pretty, no wonder Uncle Yi is interested in you. Even Zhuo Yangqing could see Nai Shuang's beauty. Yangqing, don't talk like that, I'm going back. You must have some business with Brother Yi. I won't disturb you guys, I'll be going first. Suddenly, Nai Shuang looked at Yi Mo again before suddenly taking out a small pink paper from her pocket and giving it to Yi Mo. Brother Yi, this is my number. Her voice was very soft, she didn't even say goodbye to Zhuo Yangqing and ran off. Her face still seemed flushed with embarrassment. Yi Mo looked at the paper and shook his head, thinking that if it was a normal person, perhaps he would call her at night. However, she found the wrong person. Zhuo Yangqing said in a strange tone, Shuang, this girl is being anthemaniac today. I've never seen her give her phone number to someone else without being asked. Yi Mo sneered, never seen it. If she never did, would she make her phone number into such an exquisite card and put it in her pockets? It was obvious it was prepared. Brother Yi, don't tell me you're in love with Shuang. Zhuo Yangqing asked after seeing Shuang was long gone. Brother Yi, don't tell me you're in love with Shuang. Zhuo Yangqing asked after seeing Shuang was long gone. Yi Mo frowned but didn't talk. He was thinking who Nai Shuang was and what was her purpose in Hua Uni. If her sister wasn't there, it wouldn't matter so much, but she was. It was very dangerous to have someone like that in Hua Uni. What? If you like her then you do. It's not like I'm going to tell everyone. Perhaps I can even help you. Why aren't you answering me, seriously? Zhuo Yangqing said bitterly. Yi Mo sneered. If I really was to love one of you two, I would rather love you than to love that Nai Shuang. Really? Brother Yi, you really love me? This is fabulous, although I don't love you too much, but I can tell my third uncle that you love me. You don't know how much my third uncle admires you. Once he knows you love me, I wonder how he's going to suck up to me. Zhuo Yangqing was suddenly happy and held Yi Mo's hand, talking non-stop. Yi Mo twisted his hand and grabbed Zhuo Yangqing's wrist instead, shooting his kai inside her body. There was indeed a frosty chi. It was obviously by Nai Shuang. That woman was bisexual. Zhuo Yangqing screamed after having her wrist grabbed by Yi Mo. She could hold Yi Mo's hand, but Yi Mo couldn't hold hers. She wanted to escape from it and quickly said, Uncle Yi, don't tell me you're serious. Even if you like me, it can't be that fast. I never said I liked you. Hurry up and let me go. Shut up, you really think high of yourself, Yi Mo reproached. He felt speechless. He used his spirit kai to dispel the frigid chi before releasing her hand. Zhuo Yangqing was still struggling before and was immediately scared to a halt by Yi Mo's yell. She just realized she was quite afraid of Yi Mo. She finally felt relieved after Yi Mo let go of her hand and didn't do anything. But she immediately said surprisingly, how come I feel a lot more comfortable? Brother Yi, grab me more. Then, Zhuo Yangqing reached her out wrist. Yi Mo rolled his eyes and said, take back your cat claws, I'm not interested, stop thinking that you're too perfect. You. Zhuo Yangqing felt wronged. He wanted it before, but now, he didn't want it when she gave it to her. However, it was indeed true, she was a lot more comfortable after being grabbed by him. Yi Mo looked at Tingting in his arms. She had fallen asleep on his shoulder. He then turned to Zhuo Yangqing and said, go back, I have some business at the bar. But one thing I need to remind you. You can take it as a warning. What thing? Uncle Yi, just say it, Zhuo Yangqing immediately said. Don't change the way you call me around, it annoys me. But that isn't the main thing. The main thing is, don't get close with Nai Shuang, it's bad for you. Whether or not you listen is up to you. Then, Yi Mo turned and left. Zhuo Yangqing was dazed for a long time before frowning. Why did he remind her not to get close with Nai Shuang? Shuang was not an arrogant person, in fact, she was the prettiest girl in the uni and was also empathetic. She couldn't understand why. She wanted to stop Yimo and ask, but she didn't need to. Yimo was already stopped. 2 cops had stopped Yimo's way. Zhuo Yangqing looked at Qingzun, who was not far, and knew it was his fault. Take out your identity, you were fighting in the streets, we need you to come with us to the police department. The taller police stopped Yimo and said. Of course, Yimo also saw Qingzun. He sneered and knew they were in the same group, or perhaps even Qingzun's lackey. If it was when he was studying at Ning High, he would have no choice but to go with them. But now, he just sneered. Piss off. Just when Zhuo Yangqing wanted to help Yimo say something, she heard Yimo tell the police to piss off. She was worried. Why didn't this guy know to change? He didn't know how to stay calm at all. Even if I can get you out later, there's no avoiding going in the retention center. Zhuo Yangqing sighed and took out her phone, preparing to call her third uncle. As soon as Yimo said piss off, the faces of the 2 policemen changed. The shorter one pointed and Tingting and Zhuo Yangqing and said, we suspect you in child trafficking. Now, we're taking you to the police department for investigation. If you have any questions, you can appeal later. Zhuo Yangqing heard the words of the 2 police and immediately charged up, yelling, you're bullsh*ting. Where do you see I'm underage? I'm telling you now, I'm trafficking young pretty boys, apprehend me too. Then, Zhuo Yangqing raised her not small chests and shafted Yimo's arms, obviously meaning what are you going to do? Forgetting completely, she just thought to tell Yimo to stay calm. Qingzun from afar was furious. Not only was he hit, but he also saw the person he liked shaft Yimo's arm. Yimo wasn't surprised Zhuo Yangqing did that. It wasn't the first time she did. The 2 cops were shocked by Zhuo Yangqing's words, but the taller police reacted and immediately said, it could be sex trade, take them both back. Zhuo Yangqing's face changed and was taking out her phone to call. However, Yimo raised his arm and stopped her. He just took out a small blue book and opened it in front of the taller police and said, I'll count to 3, if you don't piss off, then prepare to eat prison food. The 2 policemen immediately saw the red stamp, Special Ops Force Flying Snowhead Instructor, China Special Forces Bureau. They were so scared that they sweated immediately. Perhaps they didn't dare to start trouble with the sweeping lady of the Special Forces, much less the head instructor of flying snow. Other people didn't know how strong this position was, but the cops knew all too well. And that stamp had an obvious weak glow to it, meaning it's authentic. This couldn't be faked now. Before Yimo even counted 1, the 2 policemen already quickly said multiple apologies and ran. They didn't even dare to go to Qingzun. Brother Yi, what did you show them? Why is it so effective? Can you get me one too? Zhuo Yangqing knew she was being dumb as soon as she finished asking. That was obviously an identity document. What document could make the cops scared? Must be powerful military ones. Yimo's mouth spasmed and said, you can ask your third uncle. Zhuo Yangqing knew that Yimo was playing a joke on her and unhappily said, why did you tell me to stay away from Nai Shuangshuang just then? Yimo sneered. Even if Nai Shuangshuang wanted to drink, was there not one nearby the school? Why did she have to come to this one? Since she did, why did Qingzun know? Why did he also appear here? This is too coincidental, isn't it? You're saying. Zhuo Yangqing immediately understood. Nai Shuangshuang listened to Qingzun to trick her over. Was she actually just putting on an act? I'll ask Qingzun. When Zhuo Yangqing turned around, Qingzun was nowhere to be seen. I didn't think she was this sort of person, I've judged her wrong. This Qingzun isn't a good thing either, Zhuo Yangqing said hatefully. Yimo didn't tell her the eeriness about Nai Shuangshuang. That was no good for her. However, he still had to remind her and said, don't come in contact with her, it's no good for you. So what if I come in contact with her? I want revenge. Plus, aren't you planning on getting close to her? Otherwise, why did you take her name card? This little fox demon. It was obvious Zhuo Yangqing wouldn't be able to let it go without getting back at Nai Shuangshuang. Moreover, this Nai Shuangshuang also became a fox demon. She forgot that not long ago, she said Nai Shuangshuang was pitiful in front of Yimo. Yimo sneered and said, do you feel she's usually very timid and innocent? Would an innocent, shy person always have these name cards with flirty smells? Then, Yi Mo took out that pink name card before continuing, "It's up to you whether you believe it. You can also think of it as me bullsh asterisk ting." Zhuo Yangqing wasn't a stupid girl. Although she couldn't completely analyze things sometimes, it didn't mean she knew nothing. From the series of things that happened today and then reflecting back to what usually happens, Zhuo Yangqing immediately understood that what Yi Mo said might possibly be true. She suddenly thought of Yi Mo grabbing her wrist and releasing it, then the change in her body. Was this related to Nai Shuang? Just when Zhuo Yangqing wanted to Yi Mo about it, Yi Mo's face suddenly changed as he rushed into the bar. Yi Mo saw that Yun Bing suddenly rushed towards the man she followed like crazy and was about to throw a bottle on him. But immediately, she was suppressed by the two people beside her and was dragged inside the bar. Yi Mo saw that Yun Bing suddenly rushed towards the man she followed like crazy and was about to throw a bottle on him. But immediately, she was suppressed by the two people beside her and was dragged inside the bar. Yi Mo went in and kicked those two men away without hesitation and pulled Yun Bing over. Yun Bing with messy hair saw that the person pulling her was Yi Mo and couldn't help to run into his arms and weep. Zhuo Yangqing came in and saw Yun Bing and then looked at Yi Mo. She felt this was complicated and just stood behind Yi Mo saying nothing. Feng Rong stood up and looked coldly at Yi Mo. There was a youth beside him who sat still and didn't even look at Yi Mo as though Yi Mo was someone about to die. The two men struggled a long time before getting up and was about to attack again when the youth sitting still waved his hand. "We're civilized people, better to let the police deal with these maggots. Tell the police to not let this bastard come out again." Without the youth's reminder, the people from the bar had called the police. They could tell that although Yi Mo was by himself, he still had the advantage. The four people together on Feng Rong's side was no match for him. Yun Bing had calmed down now and got up from Yi Mo's arms while sobbing. Zhuo Yangqing passed some tissue to Yun Bing. "What's the matter?" Yi Mo asked casually. Yun Bing pointed at Feng Rong and hatefully said, "This animal, years ago, plotted against me, and now, he want to help someone harm me for the second time." Yi Mo frowned. Although Yun Bing didn't say exactly what he did, he still understood that this Feng Rong was her original boyfriend. Not only did he not protect her, but he sold her instead. Yi Mo looked at Yun Bing unhappily, thinking that it was lucky that the second time didn't succeed. If it did, it was still her fault. As though seeing Yi Mo's unhappy eyes, Yun Bing lowered her head thinking even if she didn't hear this today, she wouldn't be harmed by him a second time. She wasn't an idiot. She was fully disappointed with Feng Rong much less when she couldn't stop thinking about Yi Mo now. What thing could make him unable to be reached for 8 years in America? Why did he happen to leave as soon as it happened to her? The police car sounded and the two nearby policemen had came. From the speed they came, it could be seen that the reporter's status wasn't low. "Take this person away, he committed a heavy crime. I will call and provide evidence later." The way that the youth ordered made people feel as though the two police were his servants. The two policemen raised their head and saw Yi Mo. They froze thinking not good. The person they feared seeing the most was this person. Why did these people have to mess with him? "Why aren't you moving?" The youth saw the two policemen just stood still and said unhappily. Yun Bing handed Ting Ting to Yun Bing and walked up in front of the youth. He grabbed his neck and held him up and gave him a few slaps on the face before kicking him besides the two men earlier. The youth's mouth was full of blood and he spat out a few teeth. He was paralyzed on the ground wanting to talk but unable to. "You!" Feng Rong looked at Yi Mo in terror. He didn't expect Yi Mo to be this ferocious, daring to attack him like that in front of police. What made him unable to understand was why did the police come and just watch him get hit but not do anything? However, Yi Mo didn't teach Feng Rong a lesson and just patted on his shoulder a few times. "Remember to not go anywhere tomorrow, better to eat more today. Piss off." Feng Rong didn't know that he was death sentenced by Yi Mo since his heart meridian had been sealed by latter. He thought Yi Mo let him go due to Yun Bing. Thinking about the man on the ground, he yelled carkily, "You dare to attack Yi Lian?" Hearing Feng Rong's words, Yi Mo was surprised. He looked at the youth on the ground and asked, "You're from the Yi family?" "That's right, you scared?" Feng Rong sneered immediately, but before he finished, he found his face was spitting out the same amount of blood and teeth as Yi Ling. He now understood that if Yi Mo wanted to beat him up, he would. Yi Mo originally wanted him to have a calmer life before death, but this Feng Rong pissed him off. Yi Lian saw Yi Mo walk over and wiped the blood from his face using an unclear tone. "Bastard, you dare to attack me." However, Yi Mo stood on his face once again and said, "I want to hit the Yi family people. You tell me if I dare to hit you. Last time, I went up and smashed the Yi family big gate, I didn't see you. You are probably only a small insect of the Yi family." Yi Lian looked at Yi Mo in terror. He finally understood that this youth was that ancestor of the Yi family, Yi Mo. He didn't dare to be cocky anymore. Even the leader Yi Beirong didn't dare to say anything when Yi Mo smashed his way in, much less him from a branch lineage. He could only shake and hate himself for not recognizing this was Yi Mo. When he saw Yi Mo raise his foot again after breaking the legs of his two lackeys, he was so scared he quickly said, "Brother Yi, this isn't my fault. Feng Rong, that animal, said Yun Bing was by herself and told me to make a move. I listened him and that's why I planned to." Arg. Before Yi Lian finished, Yi Mo still stepped down. Yi Mo turned to the two policemen and said, "Did you hear their verdict?" "Yes, we heard it." The two policemen bowed. "Oh, in that case, take these scums away. You don't need to notify me. Contributing to social stability is what I should be doing," Yi Mo blandly said. Hearing these words, Zhuo Yangqing couldn't help bursting into laughter. Yi Mo acted as though he didn't hear it as he turned to the two policemen and said, "I suspect this bar is problematic. Notify your leader, they must investigate this. Hand the result to Flying Eagle Li Hu and tell him to notify me. If you can't find anything, then don't blame me then. Same if you use a few small fries as scapegoats." Yi Mo wouldn't believe this bar wasn't problematic when Nai Shuangshuang chose to drink here. "Sorry, I caused trouble for you again," Yun Bing said apologetically. Yi Mo waved his hand and said, "It's not a problem if I'm here. If I'm not, then that would be a problem, so." Although Yi Mo didn't finish his words, Yun Bing understood what he meant. She should not be so impulsive in the future. Feng Rong destroyed her life and that made her unable to control herself. However, this was just once. There wouldn't be anything that would make her so emotional again. To her, her past was dead, and there was no point in remembering it. "Let's go eat." Yi Mo saw Yun Bing was unhappy and said casually. Although Zhuo Yangqing didn't know what was going on, she could understand part of the situation and quickly said, "Brother Yi, you and this sister can come to my house to eat," and it seemed she didn't forget about checking up on her grandpa. Yi Mo agreed. Seeing this, Zhuo Yangqing quickly called her third uncle and her small aunt. Immediately, everyone in the Zhuo family started moving. The Zhuo family had been so hopeful of Yi Mo's coming. Zhuo Yushan's coral poison was too easy for Yi Mo now. In less than half an hour it was all gone. The Zhuo family was very polite to Yun Bing due to Yi Mo, even more than Yi Mo. From Zhuo Yushan's perspective, Yi Mo was an excellent stock. If Yun Bing was his woman, it would be more effective to treat her nice. Just when Yi Mo was prepared to leave, the news reported the matter between Ou Tanya and Ou Chen. Yi Mo nodded thinking this elder Han was really fast. It had only been a day and they were done. These old people probably had the intention already and used him as the leading bird. But despite knowing he was used by them, he would still kill Ou Tanhu. The Ou family is done. Zhuo Yushan looked at the TV and sighed. He continued, "The Ou family was too cocky. They've harmed a lot of people in recent years, much less what happened 20 years ago." Yun Bing looked at Yi Mo in shock. She didn't expect Yi Mo meant this when he said the Ou family wouldn't look for trouble with her. Just how much power did he have? Yi Mo smiled to Yun Bing and nodded. Yun Bing immediately felt warm at heart. Even if he wasn't her man, it was still her luck to be able to know someone as magical as him. Thinking that she wouldn't have to live a life of terror, she suddenly felt optimistic. Wu Liang Mountain was called Mengla Mountain before. It had an area of a few thousand acres. Wu Liang Mountain was called Mengla Mountain before. It had an area of a few thousand acres. The Qing dynasty poet Da Jiazheng wrote a poem here. Everyone knew that Da Jiazheng was a famous poet during the times of Daoguang Emperor. People rarely knew that he also had a brother Da Jiahui. Around 1816, they met someone from Jiankang of the hidden sects here and were taken in due to their talent. Da Jiazhen wanted to be a scholar and rejected to stay, but Da Jiahui stayed. They were scared that if they left at the same time, the hidden sect people would kill their family. After Da Jiazhen came out, he participated in the national test. He was 24 that year and was sent to Hunan province as the governor, but still had no news of Da Jiahui. He missed his brother, and so he came to Wu Liang Mountain and wrote the poem. His poem meant that inside the Wu Liang Mountain, the area was actually very large and high up in the clouds. Its vastness was so great that one couldn't see it with bare eyes. Now, Wu Liang Mountain was a national environmental protection site. It hid countless unknown scenery as well as countless unknown places. At this moment, at a place where normal people couldn't reach in the Wu Liang Mountains, there was a large area of houses. The place looked ancient. Outside these houses, there was a curved path reaching to the bottom of the mountain. Looking from the bottom, these houses were like an immortal realm hidden in the clouds. In front of the houses was a big tower with an enormous character of serenity. This was the hidden sect Serenity. There was a distant room, and in it, Luo Susu sat there dazed while thinking about something. She had returned to the hidden sects for a month of 2. Originally, she thought it would only take a few days to forget that man, but it had been 2 months now, and she still couldn't calm down to cultivate her serene heart manual. Once she closed her eyes, Yi Mo would appear in front of her. Those scenes that she couldn't hide away showed up again and again. He almost died due to thirst but still gave the water bag to her. He knew it was the desert and how important water was for people. What sort of magical man was he? Even though he was almost eaten by those insects, he still didn't want to leave her behind. Instead, he carried her and continued running. What sort of an emotional man was he? He searched around for water everywhere to save her while his lips were cracked dry. Then, he cut open his own wrist to feed her blood until he went unconscious. However, that was the first time she met him, and as for her, she just gave him some water at most. And, the pool he gave her. That was the best birthday present she got in her entire life. This present was given to her in the desert. Who could give such a present in the desert? What sort of a person was he? Luo Susu thought about Yi Mo's lips. That moment when she kissed him, his lips were very cold but warm at the same time. Now that she thought about, she felt lost in the thought. I will forget about him, I must. Luo Susu cultivated her serene heart manual, but before she could even complete a circle, she spat out another mouthful of blood. This was already the 6th time it happened. Susu, our sect's cultivation forbids joy, worry, anger, emotions, hurt. The words of her master echoed in her ears, but she still went against it all. If her master was still here, she could ask her, but she wasn't. She didn't know if he was doing well. Did he finish his things? Luo Susu's thoughts went to Yi Mo again. What was happening to her? Why did she always think about him? It seemed that in her memory, she and Yi Mo knew each other a long time ago. However, no matter how she searched her memory, there were only those in the desert. Perhaps she knew him from her past life. Luo Susu's door suddenly opened and a nun-looking woman walked in. This nun was called Jing Shi, her master's Shadi. Although she was in her 40s, she looked like a young woman who hasn't even reached her 30s. Not only was her skin smooth, her eyes and brows were clearly defined. Her lips had this sexy rudeness to it. Looking meticulously, she was an oddly beautiful woman. The most noticeable feature about her was her sharp nose. If her eyes and hair wasn't black, she would look Western. Shushu, 1, Luo Susu stood up and called. The nun looked at Luo Susu and frowned. Susu, you are no longer suited to cultivating at Serenity. You just went to the mortal world once, and you were enticed by it, losing your Dao heart. But you are from the hidden sect, and you must not be let into the mortal world again. Shushu. Luo Susu said worriedly. She knew this Shushu didn't like her, she didn't know why, but it should be related to her master. There must be some punishment the way her shushu was talking. The nun shook her head and said, Susu, even if you can't cultivate our way, you don't have to go back to the normal world. Before Luo Susu could feel relieved, the nun continued, the young master of Jian Kang is only 30 years of age, but he is tertiary stage of yellow level. His future is boundless. Plus, Jian Kang's martial arts are good for you. Our sects have always had good relations, and we're not far from each other. If you marry into Jian Kang. No. Luo Susu's face went pale. No matter what, she wouldn't marry someone. As for why, she had this rejection in her heart. This nun's face sunk and was about to talk once again when another voice said, Jingshi Shamai, if Susu doesn't want it, then don't force her. Although we have fallen, we're not at the stage to rely on marriage to survive. Yes, Shijie. However, Jingshi obviously didn't seem very respectful to her. Luo Susu went up and greeted, Luo Susu greets sect leader. MHM. The nun nodded and said after a while, Susu, you do have a big problem after coming back. Your heart can no longer calm down like before. Then, the nun started to think what to do with Luo Susu. Leader Shabo, I wish to ask for one more thing. Because I went out this time and some things occurred, if I can't completely resolve these things, it may be very hard for me to calm my heart to cultivate again. So I plead leader to allow me to go out again. Luo Susu had this sudden urge to see Yimo again. She wanted to ask if Yimo had seen her before and had some memory of her before. No, Jingshi interrupted, Jingxian Shijie, Susu yearns for the mortal world. If we let her back in, perhaps something would happen, and it would be our sect that is embarrassed. Luo Susu was shaking with anger due to these words but didn't dare to object. However, Jingxian nodded and said, then what do you think should happen? Jingshi didn't even look at Luo Susu and just said, in my opinion, it was already against the rules that Luo Susu went out last time. After she came back, she couldn't cultivate. I think we should send her to the cold room for 3 years. Luo Susu was shaken. Cold room for 3 years. That was like a death sentence. With her only yellow level intermediate stage power, it was death if she went in there. Her master died 3 months after being closed in the cold room for 2 years. Her master was also sent to that cold room due to this shushu. Now, she didn't expect she would be walking the same path due to her. Jingxian glanced at Jingshi and sighed. Susu, you might as well go to Jian Kang. Luo Susu shook her head and said, Leader Shabo, I will go to the cold room. Mph, unworthy thing. Jingshi didn't even say goodbye to Jingxian and just left. Sigh. Jingxian looked at Luo Susu and left. Although she knew that Jingshi wanted to take revenge on Luo Susu's master, but she couldn't say anything. Leader Shabo, I want to change my name, Luo Susu suddenly called to the leaving Jingxian. Jingxian turned around and looked at Luo Susu with guilt. Susu, tell me, I will change it for you in the sect. I can do that at least. She also knew that if Luo Susu went to the cold room, there would be no coming back. However, she didn't dare to stop Jingshi's decision. She just felt guilty to Luo Susu's master and her. Luo Susu wasn't dumb. Jingxian was the leader but was succumbed to Jingshi. If there wasn't something that Jingshi had a grasp of, she definitely wouldn't believe it. Shabo, I want to change my name to Luo Ying. I found that I often call myself Luo Ying in my dreams, Luo Susu said. She was worried for her. Shabo. Jingxian looked once at Luo Susu and nodded. She took out a jade necklace from her sleeves and gave it to Luo Susu and said, Susu, from now on, you are Luo Ying. This necklace was sent over by a friend from the Luo Kang magical artifact social. This is a real magical artifact, it's yours now. Good luck, I'm going. 1. TL note, Shushu, referring to anyone in the same sect who is in the same generation as your master but younger than him. Shabo same as Shushu but referring to older than your master. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.